If you've ever been thankful for football, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. It is great to see a whole bunch of returning faces, and although we have a truncated week because of the Martin Luther King holiday yesterday, it is going to be a busy one, it looks like. We got a whole bunch of headlines. First thing I want to address here real quick, I am extremely proud of the Indiana Hoosiers, and congrats to them. The one thing I will say is this is the losingest program in college football history, and today they are national champions. So you can take this into your own life. If anyone says that you can't do something, whether it's trading or otherwise, just remember, yes, you can. Bet on yourself. It is one of the greatest bets that you will ever make. Also, extremely proud of my Chicago Bears, despite the loss and perhaps the most exciting play I've ever seen in my 42 years of watching football. Now, getting back to the market here today, we are under pressure because there's some stuff going on, a little disturbance, as someone once said. Futures are under pressure. However, futures are considerably up off of the lows. We're going to break down all of the news. It's Tuesday, not Monday, so it is a T3 Tuesday here today. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Tuesday edition for January 20th, 2026, begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. It is great to see a whole bunch of returning faces. I hope that you all had a wonderful, wonderful weekend. We are back at it to try and make some more money here today. We've got a lot of stuff going on, so we're going to break it all down for you. It's great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here. I don't know where you folks are, but it is awfully chilly where I am. We have a high of 9 right now. Real feel is in the negative, so it's cold out there. Hopefully y'all can stay warm. Big Dave, good morning. Chilly one at that. Market looking very red today. I'll tell you what, it's looking less red than it did early. We'll see if that holds up here. That's going to be the big question of the day, I believe, Dave. Nonetheless, good morning. Welcome back. Cad Monkey, good morning. Welcome back. Zach McCracken, good morning and welcome back as always. Zach, asking the $64,000 question out loud and early, and I couldn't be more proud. Good morning to the Benzi gang, and good morning to you, Zach. Anyone buying the Greenland dip, or are you waiting to see how it plays out? I'm in the second camp. Tomorrow at Davos, we should expect to see more ripples. Of course, Trump speaks at Davos tomorrow. He also has an interview with Joe Kernan tomorrow. I think Zach's exactly right. We will likely see some more ripples for that. But right now, the question is are we buying this dip? So a lot of bluster, a lot of saber rattling, if you will, going on out there. I personally am still in the camp that United States is not going to take over Greenland militarily. So this dip, is it buyable? That is the right question. So far in the pre-market, looks like it might be. We want to make sure that that's not a bull trap. We will investigate that as the day goes on. Richard, good morning. Welcome back. Crimp Biscuit, good morning. Welcome back. Marty, good morning. It's good to see you again. Brian, good morning. Good to see you again. Graf, good morning. Austin, good morning. Let's see. Who am I missing here? Jim, good morning. Welcome back. Wis, it's good to see you again as always. How'd you shoot last week, Wis? Yes, that girl, good morning. Kenneth, good morning. The producers locked in and ready to go. Appreciate you. H&H Tactical, good morning. Welcome. Dara, good morning. Listening to the CRVS call. They haven't started yet. I believe that's one of our biggest rippers here today. That stock closed at $8 on Friday, and it printed 12.5 here this morning. So we're going to absolutely go over that in the pre-market pulse section with 13. We'll give you some spots for that. We'll go over all of it. We'll get you ready for that. Day trader, good morning. Day trader, you're absolutely crazy. Never going to happen. Stop wasting taxpayer dollars. Bernhard, good morning. Welcome back. Jim, good morning. Welcome back. 3D, buenos dias. Good morning. Welcome back. Cam, good morning. Welcome back. Knights Lance, good morning. Welcome back. Sam, good morning. Welcome back. Tyler and Castle, good morning. Welcome back. Just passing through. Welcome back. Brent, welcome back. Abdul, it's good to see you. Gary, welcome back. GB Slice, welcome back. Neville, good morning. It's good to see you. Lion, good morning. Good to see you. JJ, indeed, it was heartbreak for the Bills and Bears, but man, the NFL just, it giveth and it taketh away. It seems. Good to have you back. Big Bees, good morning as always. Carlos, good morning. Durkus, good morning. Rooster, good morning. Edmund, good morning. Let's see, who am I missing? Marionetta, good morning. Buffalo by Bicycle, good morning. Robert, welcome back. Zach mentioning Ondas got an upgraded price target. It is by Wainwright, but it is an upgraded price target. I'll talk about that briefly here. Matthew, good morning. Good to see you. Graf, Bob, good morning. Good to see you again. Jeremy, good morning. Welcome back. Solitary Soldier, good morning. Welcome back. Richard Bowden, good morning. Welcome back. Ed, Marty, welcome back. Pete, Robot, Market Sniper, welcome back. Lambo Rolls, Jonathan, Crankbait, welcome back. Janet, good morning. Yassine, good morning. Reaching Financial Freedom, good morning. And Janet, let's get rolling. Let's get started here with our stock market today. All right, futures under pressure ahead of Tuesday's open here today. S&P futures down 1.4%, the Dow futures down 1.24%, and the NASDAQ leading the way lower at 1.79% lower. Let's take a look at some cues from last session. Energy, industrials, and real estate stocks posted the biggest gains on the S&P on Friday, while communication services and healthcare issues bucked the trend to close lower. The stocks extended negative momentum seen during the holiday break as President Trump threatens to impose escalating tariffs on Europe over the Greenland dispute, which continues to roil global markets. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.28%, while the 2-year bond was at 3.57%. The CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projections show the markets are pricing in a 95% likelihood of the Federal Reserve leaving the current interest rates unchanged in January. This represents no movement from the last time that we checked in together last week. Now, we do have several stocks in focus here today. The first is going to be BHP Group. That's ticker BHP. It was 1.65% lower in pre-market on Tuesday, despite lifting copper production guidance and setting new operational records in copper and iron ore for the first half of the year that ended December 31st, 2025. The next stock on our list is going to be BABA. This is Alibaba Holdings, ticker BABA. That dropped 2.35% after the Financial Times reported that TikTok owner ByteDance is launching an aggressive challenge to the company's dominance in China's cloud market using deep discounts and AI-led tools. Just when you thought that story was over, not quite. It pulls you right back. The next stock on our list here today is going to be Taiwan Semiconductor. This is ticker TSM. It declined 1.21% despite a Wall Street Journal report that the company is planning a massive expansion of its U.S. manufacturing footprint to mitigate geopolitical risks and satisfy a new trade deal with the Trump administration. The next stock on our list here is going to be United Airlines Holdings. That's ticker UAL. That was 2.26% lower as it projected to post quarterly earnings of $2.94 per share on revenue of $15.4 billion after the closing bell today. The last stock on our list here is going to be Netflix, ticker NFLX, and shares rose 0.15% ahead of its earnings scheduled to be released after the closing bell today. Analysts expect it to post quarterly earnings of 55 cents per share on revenue of $11.97 billion. Also, not mentioned here, but we also got news that Netflix looks to be amending its deal for Warner Brothers Discovery to an all-cash deal. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at that SPY chart. Let's see where we sit right now and where we might be going here today, what your key levels are. So, all right, here's what we got. SPY down 1.4% here in the pre-market. We're currently holding on to 682. This is significant because this basically means that the move down, while it did go a little bit lower in the pre-market, we'll take a look at that in a sec here, we actually dipped beneath the 50 at 681.16, and so far, we have traded back above and recaptured it. Now, the other key level here today is definitely going to be the 688.60. That represents the 20-day moving average. Given some of the back and forth turmoil and the pullback that we're seeing here this morning, this represents a definite target to recapture today if we show any kind of prolonged strength throughout the session. On the flip side, I think one of the things we definitely want to do here is hold the 50-day moving average. If we break the 50-day moving average, I could absolutely see us coming into the low 670s. This is going to represent former all-time highs, but it's also being supported by the 100-day moving average right there. So this also represents that 671-ish area. That is the area low from December 17th. At the end of last year. So this is where we're looking here. First things first, are we able to close above and hold the 50-day moving average? And once again, that value there, 681.16. Now let's take a look at some insights from analysts. Robin Brooks, senior fellow at the Brookings Institution, warns that a thoroughly alarming rise in the long-term government bond yields is being masked by falling short-term rates, signaling the potential start of a global debt crisis. While investors focus on recession-driven cuts, Brooks argues that the underlying demand for government debt is fracturing. By stripping our short-term volatility, his analysis reveals that markets are increasingly reluctant to fund post-COVID debt bridge. Quote, the economics profession really has no idea at what level debt becomes unsustainable, end quote. Brooks notes that, describing the current landscape as, quote, very scary, end quote. The danger is most acute outside of the U.S. Forward yields in Japan and the U.K. have reached unprecedented levels, while fiscal issues in France remind markets that Eurozone debt risks still fester. Even safe havens like Germany are seeing yield spikes. And indeed, we are seeing the Japanese bond yields trade up there. That, of course, has implications for the yen carry trade unwinding, which has implications for our market and global markets alike. Brooks concluded that the U.S. benefits from some safety inflows. It's being pulled upward by this global tide. The synchronized rise in borrowing costs across G10, he writes, is, quote, deeply alarming. Now, we do have some upcoming economic data here today. No data is scheduled for, this week. No data, however, is scheduled for today. But on Wednesday, the delayed report of the October construction spending, along with December's pending home sales data, will be out by 10. And on Thursday, initial jobless claims for the week ending January 17th, and the first revision of the third quarter GDP will be out by 8:30. November's delayed report for personal income spending and PCE data will be announced by 10. On Friday, S&P's flash U.S. services and manufacturing PMI will be released at 9:45, and January's final consumer sentiment data will be released at 10. All right, let's take a look at some more news here before we get to our T3 guest here today. First one is going to be from Energy Secretary Wright. He actually defends the data centers and said Google wants to pay to fix the grid, not to be the cause of rising prices. You don't say. U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright pushed back forcefully against claims that massive data centers are driving up American electricity bills, arguing instead that tech giants are eager to fund the grid upgrades necessary for the AI boom. Speaking on Fox Business, Wright defended a new Trump administration plan to ensure companies like Microsoft and Alphabet shoulder the costs of power generation. Wright directly addressed critics who blame the energy appetite of artificial intelligence for soaring costs. Quote, Democrats and others are saying data centers are the cause of rising electricity prices. They're not, end quote. Instead, he positioned tech firms as a key part of the solution. Wright emphasized that while these centers need a tremendous amount of power, the companies very much want to pay for necessary infrastructure upgrades themselves rather than having those costs socialized onto the back of the American ratepayers. For anyone that wants to go through this, the tweet, or any other quotes that are in there, you can go ahead and click on the link I just threw in the chat. Wright continues, his comments align with a report of a new administration directive involving PJM Interconnection, the largest U.S. grid operator. The plan would establish an emergency auction requiring hyperscalers to bid on long-term contracts to fund billions in new power plants. Wright referenced this directly, noting President Trump proposed an electricity auction in which tech companies will be forced to cover the cost of new power plants. This mechanism aims to secure the reliable power big tech needs without punishing households. The households that use these products, by the way. The secretary argued that the current price hikes stem not from new AI demand, but from previous policies that constrain supply. Quote, the states have rushed to close their coal plants, have also had rapidly escalating electricity prices. He said, labeling the focus on data centers as a way for critics to escape blame for the anti-fossil fuel policies that caused these prices to rise. To meet future demand, Wright also pointed to a rapid expansion of nuclear energy, promising that small modular reactors, would be operational by July 4th. Now, a couple of things right there. First of all, the energy trade that we've been in particular, the one that dovetails with nuclear, that is still on. And while personally, energy is a big focus for me here in 2026, I really think that we're going to continue to see some outsized moves in some of these nuke names. It's going to be a little bit difficult for us to short-term trade this because of some of the runs that they've already been on, but I don't think this is going away at all, and it sure seems like the energy secretary thinks the same thing. Okay, next here, this one... it kind of made me smile. We've talked about it a little bit back and forth, but I just wanted to cover this here. This is PricewaterhouseCoopers global chairman warned that many corporate leaders are rushing into artificial intelligence without the foundational systems needed to make it work. What could go wrong? Leaving more than half the companies seeing no real benefit. On Monday, Mohammed Kandi, PricewaterhouseCoopers global chairman, spoke to Fortune in Davos ahead of the World Economic Forum, saying the CEO role has shifted dramatically in the past year. Quote, this is one of the most interesting moments for leaders, end quote. Kandi told Fortune's Diane Brady. He described the new trimodal mandate that required executives to run today's businesses, transform it in real time, and build new models for the future. The warning comes as PricewaterhouseCoopers released its 29th global CEO survey, which found that while corporate leaders are aggressively adopting AI, the payoff is limited. Only 10 to 12% of companies reported seeing benefits in revenue or costs, while 56% said they were getting, quote, nothing out of it. Kandi attributed the gap to weak execution rather than flawed technology. Quote, somehow AI moves so fast that people forgot that the adoption of technology, you have to go to the basics, he said, emphasizing the need for clean data, strong processes, and governance. Now, this just goes back to an old adage. If you've worked in business or in tech, I'm certain you've heard this 1,000 times before, but it's worth repeating because it's always the case. Garbage in, garbage out. I don't care how great these AI models are. If you flood them with garbage, you're not going to get great answers on the other side. That is for sure. He added that companies are seeing results that are putting the foundations in place. Earlier this month, Advanced Micro Devices and Tata Consultancy Services announced a partnership to help companies move AI from pilot projects to full-scale production, focusing on hybrid cloud, edge computing, and industry-specific AI solutions. The collaboration also aimed to train TCS employees on AMD technology. Last year, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman warned that AI was growing faster than the world could adapt and urged safeguards to prevent harm. He acknowledged job disruption, but said new roles would emerge. NVIDIA's Brian Catanzaro said many people avoided AI because they didn't trust or understand it, and he positioned NVIDIA's open source Nematron platform as a solution. Rockstar Games co-founder Dan Houser predicted AI would eventually eat itself as the internet filled with AI-generated content, and criticized executives pushing AI adoption as lacking humanity. So one of the reasons that this story stood out to me is because I get it. Sometimes I wonder too, AI, it's great, but how great is it really? How great is it really? What do I use it for right now that significantly changes my life? And I can't come up with much. I mean, other than making some of these songs with remaking some of these songs with lyrics that bend to the trading market. That's about it. Honestly, I do think these tools are valuable. I do think some of the hype is overblown, but I also recognize that there's a long runway here. Our chat, you folks have done a really good job of focusing how many of these things actually are beneficial in fields like medicine and discovering early detection of tumors and cancer and things of that nature. There's definitely going to be a lot to gain here. Really, the question is how much and how fast. Okay, next here, this is going to be about Taiwan Semiconductor. This is going to continue to be in the news. No surprise there. We just had earnings, stock traded higher. Taiwan Semiconductor buys more Arizona land and fast tracks its fabs. Taiwan Semiconductor is inching towards a much larger U.S. buildout as it seeks to get closer to major customers like NVIDIA and Apple while reducing the geopolitical risk tied to Taiwan. A broad trade agreement between Taiwan and the Trump administration is creating the opening for that expansion. The Taiwanese contract chip maker is preparing to pour tens of billions of dollars into Arizona to add several new chip plants, which would lift its total presence in the state to roughly a dozen facilities. That was per the Wall Street Journal report on Sunday. The expansion coincides with the new U.S.-Taiwan trade agreement that cuts tariffs on Taiwanese goods to 15% and includes $250 billion in planned Taiwanese investment in the U.S., along with $250 billion in credit guarantees. The chipmaker plans to anchor its U.S. growth around a large Arizona gigafab cluster. That's going to be, I think, a new word entering the zeitgeist, to be honest. A gigafactory cluster. That's good stuff. CEO CC Wei said the company has already bought additional land in the state, according to its original 1,100-acre site, planned for 6 chip plants, 2 advanced packaging facilities, and a research and development center would not be sufficient for future expansion. The company has since added another 900 acres to preserve flexibility. Taiwan Semiconductor has also moved up the timeline for its second Arizona plant to the second half of 2027, accelerated construction of a third facility, and begun the permitting process for a fourth. So things are moving, and clearly they are moving faster as of recently. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said the goal is to shift about 40% of Taiwan Semiconductor supply chain to the United States. That total includes the $165 billion Taiwan Semiconductor has already pledged for 6 new logic chip fabs and 2 advanced packaging plants. Taiwan Semiconductor signaled it will keep raising spending as it expands. The company said Thursday it plans capital expenditures of up to $56 billion this year. It could add more Arizona logic fabs and bring more advanced capabilities to the U.S. Taiwan Semiconductor is also exploring a potential push into the United Arab Emirates, amenities. I'm so sorry. The UAE, while it builds its first fab in Germany and continues ramping after opening a Japan factory in 2024. The $1.8 trillion tech giant gained 56% in the last 12 months. Bloomberg reported that multiple brokerages have raised price forecasts on Taiwan Semiconductor shares after the stock's strong start to 2026. We have talked an absolute ton about how Taiwan Semiconductor is really like the big thing behind the thing here. And this should continue no matter what companies like Apple, NVIDIA, and Meta do. This one seems to be very, very safe in that regard. Okay, we are cruising on time here. This is absolutely awesome. Another story here. This one's about Meta, which I'm sure we'll take a look at the chart here today. Meta's recent stock decline is self-inflicted, says an analyst, and predicts a rally if Mark Zuckerberg does just one thing. Now, Suncoast, equity managing director and co-portfolio manager Eric Lynch weighed in on Meta's recent stock decline amid investor skepticism about the company's capital expenditure guidance for the next year. Lynch, in a recent conversation with Yahoo Finance on Sunday, suggested that investors are wary of a potential increase in capex due to CEO and founder Mark Zuckerberg's AI push. This skepticism has led to a 4.6% drop in Meta's stock this year. Despite these concerns, Lynch expressed his confidence in Meta's growth, noting that the company's revenue increased by 26% in the last quarter. He anticipates similar performance in Q4, attributing this growth to Meta's strategic focus on implementing AI across all its properties. Lynch also addressed the impact of Meta's aspirational spending levels on stock performance, suggesting the company's recent stock declines at a PE of 20 are largely self-inflicted. He believes that if Meta can demonstrate a reduction in capex related to AI aspirations, the stock could see a significant upturn. Quote, the stock is really going to run at 18 to 20 times earnings for forward earnings. So right here, he's telling you that, hey, this is one of those things where if Meta comes out and says, hey, we're actually spending less on AI, probably not going to be bad, at least not for Meta's stock, arguing that Meta's stock is rolling over because of how much they're spending. The opposite, or the company might argue the opposite, that they're positioning themselves for the future by doing all of this. Now, Meta's stock performance is a topic of significant interest in the market, especially given the recent decline of the most of the Magnificent Seven stocks in 2026 after outperforming the broader market for the past 3 months. Besides Meta, shares of Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, Alphabet, and Amazon have managed to buck the downturn. Meanwhile, some analysts are bullish on Meta's future, with a predicted 77% surge in the stock value due to the company's strategic AI-focused initiatives. Who's going to be right here? Rosenblatt analyst Barton Crockett said Meta's recent headline-making moves appear intentional, aimed at advancing the company's data center expansion and artificial general intelligence, excuse me. According to Benzinga Egg stock rankings, Meta has a growth score of 73.19% and a quality ranking of 95. That's one of Tim Melvin's favorite combos there, quality and growth. Benzinga Screener, of course, allows you to compare Meta's performance along with the rest of its peers. So you'll have to let me know what you think on Meta, on whether or not this is a trade and all of that. You'll have to let me know if you think this is a buy the dip candidate. That's one of the things I really want to get at. One more thing that I want to mention here real quick. There's really no trade on this, but this goes back to a theme that we had kind of talked about here. Shout out to Kathy in our chat, who's kind of been all over this theme. This has to do with another merger here in biotech. This is GlaxoSmithKline acquiring Rapt Therapeutics. Now, I'm fairly certain that we've actually traded Rapt in the past. I don't have it for this merger. If you do have it for this, congratulations, because huge move here today. Now, what's going on here? Excuse me, just one sec. Now, what's going on here? GlaxoSmithKline on Tuesday agreed to acquire Rapt Therapeutics, that's ticker RAPT, by the way, for $58 per share. The deal consideration is equivalent to an estimated aggregate equity value of $2.2 billion net of cash acquired. GlaxoSmithKline estimates upfront investment is $1.9 billion. Rapt Therapeutics is a California-based clinical-stage biopharmaceutical company dedicated to developing novel therapies for inflammatory and immunological diseases. The acquisition includes Orzuprubart, a long-acting anti-immunoglobulin monoclonal antibody, currently in phase 2B clinical development for prophylactic protection against food allergens. I know that this is huge. I'm sure all of us have friends or family that have severe allergies. I've seen it. It's scary. It's legit. It is what it is. I think anything along these lines is going to be really good for these folks. The acquisition, IgE is clinically validated target, and it's only approved systemic therapy shown to protect patients from a harmful allergic and inflammatory immune response. Around 94% of severe food allergies are caused by IgE mediated reactions. Current anti-IgE treatment for food allergy involves injections every 2 to 4 weeks. Ozurupart's clinical profile offers the potential for less frequent dosing every 12 weeks, supported by improved compliance and patient outcomes, as well as providing a new option to approximately 25% of patients currently ineligible for the existing therapy. So this is really huge here. You get better results, you take less medicine, and its addressable market is simply more people. 25% more people can actually benefit from this where they couldn't prior. Ozuruprubart complements GlaxoSmithKline's extensive commercial footprint, and a prescriber base in allergy. Data from the phase 2B trial assessing the use of ozuprubart as monotherapy is expected in 2027, with phase 3 trials to be focused on both at-risk adults and pediatric populations. Now, when we get the results for that, it will affect GlaxoSmithKline, obviously, instead of Wrapped. In the U.S., over 17 million people are diagnosed with food allergies, with more than 1.3 million people suffering from severe reactions. More than 3 million patients visit each year to the hospital and emergency care. The transaction gives GlaxoSmithKline the global rights to the ozuprubart program, excluding mainland China, Macau, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. GlaxoSmithKline will also be responsible for success-based milestones and royalty payments of the drug owed to Wrapp's partner, Shanghai Joyu Pharmaceuticals. Tony Wood, GlaxoSmithKline's chief scientific officer, said ozuprubart strengthens the company's pipeline with a potential in best-in-class allergy treatment, offering longer-lasting protection with quarterly dosing and addressing a clear unmet need in food allergy care. Wrap Therapeutics CEO Brian Wong said the deal gives ozuprubart a clear path forward, pairing the program with GlaxoSmithKline's global development and commercial scale to unlock greater value for its patients and shareholders. Concurrently, Pfizer agreed to exit its 11.7% investment in HIV drug developer Viv Healthcare. With the transaction, Shionogi's Company Limited holdings increased to 21.7%, and GlaxoSmithKline maintains the 78.3% majority share. Viv Healthcare will issue new shares to Shionogi for $2.125 billion, and Pfizer will receive $1.875 billion. GlaxoSmithKline will also receive a special dividend of $250 million payable in Great British pounds. Shionogi will continue to have one director position on the Viv Healthcare board, and will be represented by Dr. John Keller, who's been part of the director of Viv Healthcare since 2012. Both transactions are expected to close in the first quarter of 2026. Okay. We're still good on time. I do have one more that I want to go here. And this is it. Quantum computing, folks. UBS names Google as quantum computing's pioneer. This is something that we had said a long time ago, when we were trading all of these. UBS has identified several key quantum computing stacks that are leading the industry, with technology offering extraordinary potential. The analyst, led by Madeline Jenkins, highlighted that quantum computing is fragmented in an immature market with significant potential in areas as molecular simulation, optimization AI, and cryptography. That's reported by CNBC. The report also noted the recent meaningful breakthroughs, easy for me to say, in the quantum stocks. Despite the slow pace, UBS predicts the era of quantum advantage, where quantum significantly outperforms classical systems, could arrive as early as the 2030s. Now, this is kind of some of the debate that has been going back and forth and has been driving some of those other stocks like Rigetti, Ionic, and D-Wave Quantum have been driving those higher. There was obviously the back and forth. Are we 5 years away? Are we 10 years away? Are we sooner than we think? Another play here saying, hey, first of all, 2030s is really going to be your timeline. That's still 5+ years away. And on top of that, Google is actually the leader here, not any of these other trendy companies that actually make for some pretty good trades. UBS noted that qubits, the building block of quantum computing, can be made in multiple ways, with superconducting and trapped ion qubits leading the field. This narrows quantum computing race to a small number of companies poised to adopt and advance the technology across various industries. The analyst called Alphabet's Google the pioneer and leader in quantum computing, while Microsoft and Amazon are more diversified players. However, UBS says that pure play players in quantum technology, such as Ionic, D-Wave Quantum, which is QBTS, and Rigetti Computing, ticker RGTI, are far more volatile than the broader market. Yeah, we've heard that before. We already know that as well. Over the past year, Ionic, D-Wave, and Rigetti surged 12.12, 358.35, and 83.26 respectively, as per Benzinga Pro. In a recent interview, Alphabet CEO Sundar Pichai likened the current state of quantum computing to where AI was 5 years ago, suggesting an imminent, very exciting phase in quantum. Keep your eyes out on Google for that. How many are still long Google from our trade recently? Meanwhile, similar companies in the quantum computing space have also been making waves. Quantum Computing, ticker QUBT, recently saw its stock rise after analysts identified multiple ways for the company to win in quantum and the optoelectronics space. So I don't think we've talked about this before. I don't think quantum's going away. I absolutely think it's going to be a theme here. It's going to rear its head again in 2026, probably in 2027 as well. Just keep in mind that with some of these other more volatile instruments that do make for good trades, the actual leader there is probably something we're more familiar with, like Google, for example. All right, folks, I know it feels like a Monday because we just got off a weekend, but I assure you it's Tuesday, and that means it's a T3 Tuesday. We're going to go ahead and bring on our guest, Red Dog from T3. Scott, good morning. Happy New Year. How you doing, boss?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
And I'm doing really, really good. I had a really exciting Bears game to watch over the weekend that didn't go my way, but my alma mater, Indiana University, the most losing most losing program in college football history, is now national champions. So one of the things that I told the group here this morning is that always remember that even if somebody tells you it's impossible, it is in fact not impossible. And if you want to go after something, you should absolutely do that. Really big time shout out to all the kids there in the IU football program.
I was rooting for them. I have a lot of friends that have daughters and kids at IU. So since my son is only in high school, and I went to Albany that really doesn't have any sports teams, I was an IU fan. So it's good to see. And I love that kind of story also. Things could change like that,
Things can change like that. And it all starts with your mentality upstairs. That's something that you've been telling us for a long time here. So I just want to get to that mentality right off the bat here. This year started off with a bang. I'm going to go ahead and share your charts if that's all right. This year started off with a bang. We got more news. I guess you could call it saber rattling over the weekend. That's having a tremendous impact here on the SPY. So set us up, Red Dog. First of all, what are you looking at here with the SPY?
Well, we did have a decent start to the year, and it wasn't, they didn't give money away, and they never do. There was a lot of rotation. There was a lot of names, a lot of small caps that did well. The Mag 7 obviously has not been the place to be. So I don't think many people are so long the Mag 7 coming into today. But if you have 10 trailers on of trades that have been working, you come in and you're down 120 handles. It's a lot to deal with. So that's like you said, the mindset needs to be correct to make the right decisions today at the right time. Because sometimes a day like this could turn into an awesome day because you open, down 12 points in the SPYs and you make your low in the first 30 to 60 minutes. And then you come off the lows and you take back half and some things show relative strength and you have a great day. Or sometimes you open down 12 points and you try and rally. Everything is just heavy and you trend down all day. So if you try buying things, that you're already in, you're losing on what you had overnight, and then you're losing even more, and it turns into a disaster. And I hate those days. So let's hope that's not one of those days today. So anyway, so what am I looking at? So let's talk about the SPYs real quick. The SPYs. So I think what's kind of important is the January 2nd low.
Okay.
Do we hold them or not? Do we break below this low? It's 679. We're right now a little bit above it. We were right there pre-market. It's also below the 50-day. So do we hold this and try and rally off of it, or do we just break the January low and all of a sudden we're at lows of the year and now we start a corrective phase that could go for 3 days, it could go for 3 months. You never know. Everyone who says they know, it's an opinion. Last year it took a quarter and we were down 21% before finding the low and the president to switch gears. So the question is it easier where it is today, or not? So for me, I think the 679 is pretty important. And, the first 15, 30-minute low, I think the same thing for the Qs. The Qs have, the January 2nd low, which is right here at 610. And the Qs right now, are, where are the Qs? The Qs are basically right there. So I am not in the Qs. I actually have the Qs are my hedge, which is good. Unfortunately, I don't have puts on. I sold premium. So I'll keep the premium. Sometimes some people, it's better to have puts on versus selling premium, but you have to be super right to, make money in the puts. And today, if you had puts on as a hedge, it definitely helped you more than selling premium. So if you have puts on in the spies and the Qs or the IWM, you're in a better position than me. I just sold premium. So
let me just get in there real quick. You did a really good job outlining some of the levels. You have the Qs here at 610. I think you had 679 there on the SPY. If those levels hold here today, if we sell off, maybe even if we peak beneath and then we're able to kind of hold those levels, are you immediate risk on, or are you still in the camp where, hey, we might want to wait this out? Trump's speaking at Davos tomorrow. We might get some more headlines here. Where are you at with that? Are you just basically reacting to price no matter what it does here today?
Well, I have positions on. I need to see if I could add to my positions, if I could trade around them, create cash flow, or look at different positions that I didn't have on that show some relative strength. So this way I can make some money there while my positions figure out whether I want to stay with them or kick them out. So I'm thinking salvage mode, and I want to be, on the offensive where there could be some things that I'm not in that could make money. So let's talk about those for a second.
Perfect.
So some people like, hey, Apple sometimes on a day like today is a good option. It could be a safety trade. I am not in Apple. Apple did a red dog reversal up here, 287. It's been sold since. I've tried it here and there, but I haven't been long Apple. It hasn't been the place to be. But today, it'll be interesting to see if Apple, wants to be a cash flow trade. Right now, it's in no man's land. It's below every moving average. It's not a momentum trade. It's nothing. It's in a void. If you're in Apple as an investment from 5 years ago, that's fine. But if you're trying to make money in it for January, it hasn't been the place to be. So I will look at Apple and say, hey, maybe there's a 15-minute low to trade against. I saw a little blurb over the weekend how iPhone sales were better than they've been in a little bit. So that maybe could be a positive. And I think ISI Evercore put them on as a tactical long because their RSI is so low. So something different for me to do today would be to look at to see if I see a low, see the market go lower, see some relative strength, and maybe buy that for cash flow. So that's something that I will look to potentially do, which has been one of the worst ones. And then you want to look at one that was better, like Google has been better. Yep. It has. So do they go to the ones that have been better? Like, look at this. This is still above the 21-day. Google, the 21 days right here. So you could look at something that's been battered and bruised that might be turned to because it's so oversold, or something like a Google that they're trying to keep constructive. Like right now, it's right at 321. It's right there. So if Google doesn't hold 321 and they just sell even the names that I've been acting well, chances are this isn't going to be a one-day wonder, and the market knows it could go on for for weeks. So you have to be careful.
Yeah,
but I would think these two names are going to be, these two names will be names that I'm not in now that I'll look at for cash flow in the first hour if the market gives me a signal. And let me just add one more Mag 7. I will also look at Tesla, and I like Tesla, and Tesla's great. Tesla's not been great. I'm in no Tesla. So I'm in none of these three names because neither one of them have given me a reason to be in them. I'm in some other names, so we'll get to that. But, so for Tesla, the question is kind of like the spies and the Qs. Will Tesla hold the low of the year? So the low of, this is the January 8th low, 424. Does it hold it or not? Right now, Tesla's close to it. So, there's really not, so you're basically, Google's not giving you that. Google, it is not giving you that much risk versus the 21-day if that's going to hold. Tesla's not giving you that much risk if you traded versus the low of the year. And Apple is just in no man's land, so you have to wait for a low for that. So those are the three I'm focusing on. I'm not focusing on Netflix, even though earnings are after the close. Meta, Microsoft, they're disasters. I have no need to look at them. And so that those are the ones that I will see if there's an opportunity today that was different than the week or so before.
Okay, I love that. Always keeping your eyes open for opportunity, no matter what the market gives you. Apple, Google, and Tesla, these are three of the most traded stocks here. So we'll be looking at all of those here today. Folks, trade the lead up and the aftermath of the Fed meeting live with Scott Redler, totally free. It's going to be the January 26th through the 30th. QR code is on the screen. We'll also throw the link in the chat there. Okay, Scott, the next thing that I have to ask you about here, this is, first of all, I love what you did here. Hey, these are things I'm looking at today. If then I don't have them. Let's flip to that because some of our group here has been long metals and materials, and those things are ripping some more. So what do you think here, both if you're already long these, and what do you just think from like a trading perspective on some of these? Is it moved too far, too fast? Are we just chasing at this point?
Well, if you're in silver and gold, congratulations. What a freaking trend. If you're an
That's
asset allocator, you should be. Like if you're not actively trading like we do for momentum and you have like that pie chart, like 60% equities, 30% bonds, 10% has to be in gold or silver or gold, silver, and Bitcoin or more. So that's helping your overall outperformance. If you trade for a living and you use the 8 and 21 day, which is what we've talked about for a decade together,
Mhm.
it's been an awesome trade too. Like look at silver. I was long a lot of silver when it broke above 49 and a quarter, and I had two really nice plays, but then I kind of got away from it, I think, here. So, I talk about taking a little bit of a move. So
Yep.
both of these option plays were 100%, but then I got away from it because gold and silver, although it's doing well, this just wasn't my focus. But ever since then, if it's been your focus, it's played by the rules. It's been above the 21 day, which is freaking super strong, and it's only been below the 8 day once, and it reclaimed it that day. So, you don't short things above the 8 and 21 day. You just don't. You try and ride them long until you see something different. And all I know is you had a 3 day down move, held the 8 day. If you're in
Yep.
silver, congratulations. But today you trim it. So if I were to use my sell rules, which I talk about all the time, and I list usually, sell rules are you sell some strength to book some money. You have to do it no matter what. Even if you think silver's going to 100, with it up 6% or 7%, you sell some. Then the next thing is if it doesn't hold above a high, that means it's not as strong as it looks. So you sell a little bit more. So that nets you money, and then you manage the trade. If all of a sudden this turns into a huge outside day, which I'm not saying it will, but well, how does that have to start? It's got to open above here, sell
Mhm.
some strength, not hold there, and then work lower all day and give you a reason to change your thesis here. If you're not in silver, though, you cannot buy it today. You just can't. You missed it. Why didn't you buy it on the third down day above the 8 day? Same thing with gold. Gold held the 8 day, very strong trend. I also had this a bunch of times. I'm not going to brag that I killed it in gold. I didn't, but we had it as a power play here, which made
Mhm.
money, and the power play here that made money. And then I went away from it. I took two good trades in a really nice trend and went back to the things that are my bread and butter, which, is not gold and silver, but they were good trades. So anyway, gold is above 427. So if you were long gold, which there's a lot of reasons to be long gold actively, as it held the 8 day again, it's at 434. You're getting paid. Congratulations. You're not in pain like the rest of the world, and you're in a really strong trend because gold and silver are trading with momentum the way the Mag 7 did a year or two ago. So every time things do change, and this has been a great sector, and Bitcoin hasn't been. I actually am long a little bit of
Mhm.
BMNR and Mr. Calls because I thought maybe Bitcoin was playing catch up. And at this point, I am not right. And I'm down a little bit of money today. And I will see, for me, does Bitcoin want to hold this 89,000 or not? So, there's a small, I did trim some into 98,000. I thought maybe it would hold here and take back the 200 day, but obviously I didn't know that Trump was going to want to take over Greenland over the weekend. And now you have here. So, I think if you sold into here, maybe there's a chance to buy some IBIT back versus 89, but if it doesn't hold
Okay.
89, you run for the hills.
Okay. Now I know you said you wanted to talk about positions that you already had. Do you
Oh,
want to go over any of those? How you manage a trade on a day like today, where we see a lot of kind of crazy headlines and big red arrows?
yeah, well, I want to see how they act. I've been in a lot of the drone names.
Me too.
I made last week. I made a ton of money. Like my biggest, like I was at the highs of my year on Friday. Hopefully, I don't give back a third of that today. But because of ASTS and Rocket Labs, and look at this name, it's been fantastic. This has been a focus. It's been a focus for me since here. So again, talk about new names in a new bull market. This has been awesome. But anyway, thank goodness I use a tier system. So day one, day two, day three, I had options on the 105s. I sold into that, so I have no options, and I have a little shares on. So I'll see how it acts today. If I want to add to it or just wait, I actually took off all of Rocket Labs into this move.
Okay.
Which again, it was just a little extended. I wanted to take it off, but I have some of the smaller, not space but drone names. So RDW is a big position of mine. I started it in here, and I did get smaller, but I have a decent amount on. But I sold some into strength on Friday, so I would like to see it hold 1060 and buy more and stay constructive. I don't know if it'll happen. If it were to break this
Mhm. Mhm.
1060, even though I like it a lot, I might have to reduce a little bit because that's telling me the market doesn't care about these things right now with everything going on. But it would be nice if that holds. I also have a lot of JOBY on, okay, which has been building. I also started this though here. I accumulated, added a ton, sold some, and I started buying more. I'd like to see this hold 14-ish. So if I could add verse 14-ish and it holds in there, I know it's building and I'm still okay to accumulate. If it were to break 14, then I have to say, hey, am I going to sit in this thing and wait, or am I going to reduce and let the market tell me that that there's a market for these things still? So in my head, I'm like, okay, if it holds here, this could be great. I could friggin' add from what I sold and it's still building. But if it doesn't, I'd be like, did the small caps just change? Or the little drone names not going to be special? Like, look what they did with ONDS. It was a great, great report. They guided up and they sold it down. So sometimes if they sell down a leader, and if ONDS can't hold 1150 today, I have a feeling these drone names are going to be in some trouble, and I might have to just, salvage some and get a little bit more flexible.
Okay, really good breakdown there on all of those. I think the one thing that was consistent across all of those things that you were holding, that you're watching here today, I think you said this on all of them, you sold some of it on the way up, able to protect yourself. That's going to make it a lot easier to sit through days like this. Okay, last thing here, Scott, I'll get you out of this. I appreciate all of the time that you've given us here today. You kind of touched on it. The Greenland stuff, it's in the news. It's got a lot of people freaked out. What are you thinking for defense names on a day and then maybe even a week like today, like this week?
I don't really trade the defense names.
Okay.
I'm kind of happy that, I've been focusing on the XLE. So it's not a defense, but it's more of like, oil, gas, energy.
Sure.
And look how nice that looks. So it's good to see that the XLE is actually, up a little bit. That's my biggest position as far as an ETF. So it'd be nice to see if it could continue to hold and then maybe get some power. So XLE to me is a sector that has been horrible, for so many years, and maybe it could be better. So you have XOM breaking out, you have Chevron building, could play catch up. So I do think I'd like to be able to add to the XLE, but anytime you add to the XLE on strength in the last year hasn't been good. But you want, give me a name. What defense name do you like, Ryan? I'll put it up and I'll tell you if I think it's viable or not.
Yeah, I mean, the defense names that I'm kind of indifferent here. I kind of think that what's going on is that there's more, the entire globe is thinking more on defense. So they might be looking into more of these names. Lockheed Martin would probably be my favorite. But really quickly, after Lockheed Martin, if you could take a look at Amazon, I know that's one of the premium names that everyone trades here. It's not defense related, but we can do that. We can do that as well. I know the chat would love to see that.
Yeah, you know what? Amazon definitely gave a little bit more opportunities than a Meta and a Microsoft so far this year. It did, remember this one day where it rebuilt. It started the year, that was gross, and then it rebuilt. So I did catch a trade there. It's come in. So if Amazon is going to be any good, I would think it's going to hold the 50-day around this 230. I would say it's worth a look today. In a sea of red, like can Amazon actually, give you an opportunity? I am not in Amazon, so it's just, which I could have been, because it actually acted halfway decent compared to other things. Thank God I'm not in it. I'm in a bunch of other things that I need to handle. But I would say this 230 to 233 area from 246 could be a good spot. So, if you're trading for cash flow and you're active, look today for this 230 to 233. It could be viable. I might even buy it there today. So I should have added that to the list of the Mag 7 besides Google, Apple, and Tesla. But again, I just don't know how much bandwidth I'm going to have today, depending on how things go.
We got your back, Red Dog. No problem. Folks, trade the lead up and the aftermath of the Fed meeting live with Scott Redler, totally free, January 26th through 30th. QR code is on the screen. Scott, appreciate it. Appreciate all of the extra time you gave us today. Good luck here this week. Have a good one. We'll catch up with you soon, all right?
Sounds great. Be well, Ryan.
All right. That is Scott Redler from T3. Again, I say it every week. Those guys are absolutely phenomenal, and they have done it once again. Really good. Oops. I got you, producer. Really good breakdown there. A lot of stocks. I love what he said there. He's looking for opportunities in some of the things that he's not in. He's not letting any of the noise kind of distract him, and he's going to keep his charts front and center to guide the path for him. Really good stuff. Great suggestions there. Okay. Producer, we've got some time. Why don't we go ahead and first we are going to do our street tweets segment. Let's take a look at some of the tweets that are out there today. Okay, first one here is going to be Gary Black. We expect Trump to announce his choice for the new Fed chair before the January 27th through 28th Fed meeting. If betting markets are correct, and former Fed former Fed Governor Kevin Warsh is the Fed chair nominee, we expect equity markets to react negatively, given his previous hawkish views on inflation and favoring a more restrictive monetary policy. Why Trump would pick Warsh when Trump wants a Fed chair who favors more accommodative monetary policy makes no sense to me. So here's a look at what the prediction markets are saying. I know that this is kind of maybe fallen off. We've got the Supreme Court decision on tariffs that we're expecting here pretty soon. Obviously, the new Greenland stuff that's got everyone pulling their hair out. We forgot about this. Gary here saying the leader, Kevin Warsh is the leader, might actually be negative, which I certainly did not have on my bingo card here today. So I would imagine that this is going to kick up in the news cycle, and we're going to be discussing this more and more, in particular after that person is actually named. All right, let's do our next tweet here. This one is from Zero Hedge. Japan 40-year yield up another 13 bips. This is a full-blown bond meltdown. The whole thing here, the reason that we care about the Japanese bonds here, this is the yen carry trade. The yen carry trade is going to affect all types of global markets. Here's the chart made a little bit bigger for you so that it's easy to see. Thank you, producer. The yen carry trade is going to affect our markets, and these climbing yields perhaps accelerates that yen carry trade unwind. So far, it's been orderly. If that turns to disorderly, that's where we're going to see a lot of mayhem in our markets. We're just flagging that for you here today. So, all right, good stuff there with the street tweets. Let's go to our next segment here, and let's talk about our macro minute. Okay, the macro minute this week is an easy one. This is global relations. It's going to be our macro minute here. Obviously, we have Davos going this week. We have Trump set to speak at Davos. I'm sure we're going to get news out of that here. But of course, on top of that, we also have the Greenland tariff and tensions and geopolitical risk. Trump had threatened 10% tariffs on countries deploying troops to Greenland. We also got a tweet that maybe he misunderstood why troops were going there. So we'll see how this all shakes out here. The initial thought was that they're going there to protect it from the United States invading. I really don't think that's going to happen personally. Seems like they're stationing more troops there to actually boost the security of Greenland, which Trump and other U.S. presidents, by the way, perhaps not as loud, but other U.S. presidents have talked about Greenland being secure and strategic. It looks like that's happening. Now, I don't know how this is going to play out. It's clearly roiling the markets. And you know what? That's only one lever of this macro minute. The other thing that we have are what we just showed you from street tweets. The Japan bond yields are at all-time highs. Japanese government bonds hit record highs as prices in looser fiscal policy expectations ahead of the February elections. Of course, we've been talking about the precious metals and commodities, how much those have run. That also complicates the entire thing. And then finally, as if that wasn't enough, we have the worries about the Fed policy and the inflation watch. We have the Supreme Court tariffs. Our decision on tariffs, and then, of course, our own Fed here. So global relations, definitely going to be a big macro minute. I expect that to continue this week. This should affect everything from defense, energy, tech, and small caps alike. All right, that does it for our macro minute here today. I do have one more thing before we get to 13 and before we get to our pre-market pulse here. Speaking of the whole Greenland saga, I guess we could call it at this point. I know we've talked before about prediction markets and things like that. I've got a little bit of a tie between here. Apparently, a new poly market user bet over 100 grand on Trump acquiring Greenland when the odds were only 22%. So a newcomer to poly market has invested over $100,000 on the chance that President Trump will acquire Greenland this year. The amount, ironically titled, or the account, excuse me, ironically titled Gambling Ruins Lives, was created on Sunday evening and spent over $53,000 buying yes. They doubled down by throwing an additional $51,200 on the bet on Monday. The punter was wagered a total of $105,000 on the outcome and was down 4.88% on the position. As of this writing, there was only a 22% chance that Trump would seize control of Greenland. I, again, think that this is in the minority, but we're having some back and forth here. Does somebody know something? I don't know. I still would like to, I think I go back and forth here on whether or not PreMarket and Kalshi are good things. I know we saw this with the capture of Nicolas Maduro. We'll see how this one shakes out, but just figured I might flag this for you. Big time bet on that from a new user who ironically titled his account Gambling Ruins Lives. So how about that? Zach, I agree with you. I don't think that will happen in the end either. And I would say furthermore, regardless of what the outcome is here, we talk a lot about process and plan and all of the other things here. This type of stuff, gambling on things that I can't control, never really a part of my plan. And I immediately compare that to sports betting, which I enjoy. It increases the entertainment value of the sporting event for me. I can't see putting large sums of money behind some of these bets. I can't do it. I think about this. My friends and I have talked about this. They're like, are you saying if you bet $250 and you ended up making $40,000 that you? No, that would be awesome. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that would be amazing. But it's just, I don't know. To me, this differs severely from the market for me. The fact that I feel like I have control over what I'm doing with the market, and with these crazy PreMarket bets, I feel like I have no control. And when I have no control, generally speaking, I don't do well when it comes to risk management. So anyway, just as an aside, thought that y'all folks would enjoy that. But now we're going to get to something that I know you're going to enjoy. It is time for the PreMarket Pulse. Good morning. Happy Tuesday, although it feels like a Monday. Happy Tuesday. How are you doing here today?
I'm doing just fine. Had a nice weekend, very relaxing. Got some things done. Here we are back at the grind. How are you?
I am doing really, really good. As I said at the outset of the show, I am disappointed and proud at the same time for my NFL football team. I witnessed the play of the century. I'm not sure I'll ever see a more exciting play over the course of my life. And then I am encouraged by the Indiana Hoosiers national championship. The once most losing program in college football is now your national champion. And 13, what I said at the outset here is that should be a reminder to everybody that if somebody says you can't do it, yes, you can. Don't let that drag you down. Glad to have you. Looks like we got some stuff happening over the weekend that's driving some things here today.
Oh, maybe just a few things that happened.
Just a few things, huh?
Yeah, not some page turners or anything like that.
Okay, let's go ahead and break down the pre-market poll, or let's go ahead and break down the movers here. If you have any other individual names that are not a part of the movers list, we'll absolutely make some time to talk about that as well. But let me go over there. Let me start with movers, and we're going to start with IVF here. So this is the first one. This started making news on Friday, and as you can see in the after-hours session, we actually ran higher and then traded sideways, which I thought was pretty good trading action. Today, when the pre-market opened, this is one of the few things that ended up going higher. Since then, it's bled back some of those gains here, but still, I think, holding higher than the range that we were in on Friday. I really think this 270 to 275, maybe 273 area, this is going to be significant. We've already come in once here in the pre-market. We'll see if we come in again. What's going on with this? On Friday, after the market closed, we got a news article here watching in vitro fertility companies, fertility. Good Lord, Ryan. Shares see volume. Traders circulate an unconfirmed rumor that President Trump is making fertility treatments cheaper for Americans to boost birth rates. All of this stuff has been talked about in the past. IVF was part of the campaign trail. The birth rates gets talked about all the time. Now we have this rumor floating around. That drove the stock higher. As mentioned, it held those highs into this morning, although bleeding some of them back. We'll see where this goes next. Still holding higher here by 286%. A quick look at the short interest on this, 0.44% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover. That is negligible. It should not affect anything here today, particularly given the amount of volume that the stock has traded here today. On average, it trades just shy of 2 million. Today, it's traded 75 million ahead of the open. Float here is 15 million. So 13, what do you think here? You think we get a setup and a trade on ticker IVF?
Well, we did have a nice move that took earlier this morning that took it up to 493. And since then, it's lost VWAP, kept on trickling down, lost the 65 EMA, but we're back up at trying to recapture the 65 EMA right now. That came off of the rebound that we just had near this, I guess let's call it the 270 area. This was the highs where the price was going in the after hours on Friday before we had a breakthrough that resistance this morning. So that area down there provided support. It was looking at that area earlier, thinking 250 might be the level. 20 cents off, no big deal. But here we are turning around, trying to recapture the 65 EMA. If we do get that, I think the VWAP is going to get recaptured next. I'd be looking at 365 as a resistance area since we lost that price level this morning. It's been the price has been struggling to recapture that particular price. So I would say 365 is your next big resistance area following a recapture of the 65 EMA and VWAP. As far as the news goes, I didn't happen to catch Trump mentioning this, but
me either. Yeah, I just saw it afterwards. Yeah,
certainly, people with an ear to the ground did. They do need cash. They had recently raised some cash, but I don't think it's enough given the cash burn rate. So wouldn't be surprised if they needed to raise more later on. Another company to keep an eye on with as a relationship trade. Is FEMY. This is also moving on that news, just not over 200% like IVF was. And I think part of that reason is because the float structure is a little bit large. But I think FEMI could be setting up to make a move soon, not just off of this, but because I think they're supposed to be doing a reverse split, and that's going to change the share structure. That'll make this move a lot better.
Yeah, indeed. And actually, we've seen that with some of these penny stocks that are anywhere between 30 and like $1, 30 cents and $1. When they do reverse split, they definitely trade better. This is a good mention. This was all a story and the catalyst that's driving IVF. So really good tie in there, 13. Next here is going to be SHPH. This is Shuttle Pharmaceuticals. And interestingly enough, this was actually not moving when I sat down at my desk here. I even selected the story on the Wrap Therapeutic takeout just because we've been talking about biopharmas here. And Kathy from our group has been really sharp and on top of a lot of those. This hadn't been moving when I looked this morning. Looks like it's going crazy now. Shuttle Pharmaceuticals appoints Yuling Liang. I probably butchered that, and I am sorry. CFO succeeding Chris Cooper. So this is via an SEC statement here. This is news as of this morning. Oh, excuse me. This is news as of yesterday. Looks like it's moving here today in the pre-market, and it looks like there was a little bit of a delayed reaction. So one of the things I'm going to do is take a look at the Twitter streets and see if anything else came out about that. Nonetheless, there's your catalyst. Here's the move. We're actually trading on some pretty good volume as well. 62 million shares. On average, this thing trades 500,000 shares. Take a look at the short interest. It's actually got something here. 10.19% of the float shorted with 2.53 days to cover. Now, I think that days to cover is going to be fairly negligible, just given how much volume we're trading here today. Float's 1.57, so this thing can move. We've traded this here before. 13, what do you think of ticker SHPH?
Yeah, I don't know how much of a big mover this is going to be. It's like you said, just moving on the CFO changes. So there's a change in governance that's causing this to move. And I don't think there's really any other news that's that's pushing it along here. I don't see anything recently anyway. But the 1.7 million share structure, that's allowing this to be pushed around easier than, let's say, IVF that we were just looking at. When I was looking at this one also, oh, by the way, the company needs cash. What do you know? When I was looking at this earlier, I had marked off $4.75 to $5 as resistance, and then looks like we ended up going right up to $5. So still going to be a resistance area should we get support from VWAP that we're moving down towards right now. I just don't like the way that this momentum has begun to swing to the downside. I think the next 5 minutes could be telling on whether or not this is going to continue lower, or if we're going to turn around and start trading up into the open. So I'd be keeping an eye on that VWAP. If we do manage to turn around above VWAP here and start recapturing these resistance levels of, I have got marked off at 435, 475, and 5. If we do manage to get back through all those, I think 575 is going to be the next big resistance area above $5. But for me, I think I'm just going to keep an eye on this one. If this does end up looking like it's going to lose VWAP going into the open, or it loses it before we go into the open, I'd wait out the initial move out of the gate and see where it goes.
Okay. And then the other thing here is, I would just say this as a caveat, wasn't one of your levels, and that's okay. But I think that this 280 level, I know it feels kind of far away right now, but honestly, I would not be surprised if we lost some of these support levels that 13 just covered. If we come down to this 275, 280 area, it's also possible that that 65 EMA rises to that level by the time it gets down there. So I wouldn't take that off the docket either.
I like your 280 level. I have an old line here from a while back when we traded this previously of 290, but I think I like 280 better just looking at the price action today here. And then some of these other levels that I was mentioning earlier, those were also from previous time that we traded this. So these old horizontal levels still holding up.
Okay. All right. Absolutely great breakdown there. Next here is going to be TWG. This is Top Wealth Group. Now, this is the caviar China play, right? I'm almost certain.
That's it.
Yep. Yeah, this is it. The caviar China play. So we've traded this before. This thing's nothing more than a trading vehicle. So just be very, very careful. I would definitely say mind your technicals here. In fact, let me just cover the short interest here real quick. 1.34%, 1 day to cover, probably negligible. On average, it trades over 500,000 shares, done 30 million today, and the float's 1.2. So judging the fact that this thing is really just kind of junky, one of the things we're going to be looking for, I want it to hold this formation. I think if it loses this, we probably try that 65 EMA. I don't even know if that's going to catch it here. Otherwise, to the upside, if we blow through that VWAP, we would really need to do that on the corresponding volume. If we don't, I'm not interested in it. If you guys are able to hit that, we get a little curl and a move through the VWAP into the higher pre-market range, giddy up. And if you make money off of that, fantastic. But unless I see this rolling on higher volume through that VWAP, I'm just not interested. I'm going to trade something else here. We've seen this thing before. I don't buy this as a viable company. It is what it is. 13, what's your breakdown here? Ticker TWG.
Well, if you would just do me the favor of going to a daily chart, I think.
You know what? Sorry, let me just stop you here. Smell has done us all a favor here. Not tradable at Schwab. So I can write this one off my list early on, and maybe Fidelity as well. Okay.
But if you go to a daily chart, you can see you can pretty much pin every time that this has had some kind of news that drove the price up. So if you got to back out a little bit more, but you can start seeing these just, well, not that much. There you go. See all those days where it just kind of pops up and then it goes right back down. That's going to happen today. Okay. So just expect that we're going to get that the same price action. How high does this go? After we open? Don't know. Maybe this goes up to the 200 day EMA, which I have around 1590. Maybe it does that and then comes right back in. I don't know. But what I do know is that if you look at what happens every time that this gets some kind of news that drives it up in the morning, or maybe even throughout the course of the day, it comes right back down the following day, and sometimes even lower. So this is not one to stick around in. There's a very good reason why those brokers don't allow this to be traded. Mm-hmm. This is exactly why. So if you're going to trade this, make sure you've got your levels marked off and you've got your stop set, because once this starts to decide it's time to get out of this thing, it's going to come right back down to where the price was previously, and that was about 350.
Okay, really
about
good
350.
Really good breakdown there. I think I'm with you 100% on the whole thing. Be careful with this one. We've got other stuff.
And just so that we can clear the news up, it's moving because it mentioned that it's going to be it's got a definitive agreement to acquire our entity. It's a wine company, I believe, for 125 million. I don't think they have the money, so likely going to be some kind of stock deal as well. But I don't even think the company's worth that much. So they just raised cash. Don't think it's going to be enough. I think we're just going to want to trade this on the technicals and then be done with it.
Okay. Good breakdown here. Okay, here's another one. This is a big mover. I know that there are a lot of folks already trading this here today. This is going to be Corvus Pharma. The ticker on this one, CRVS. Corvus Pharmaceuticals shares are trading higher after announcing results from cohort 4 of a randomized, blinded, placebo-controlled phase 1 clinical trial evaluating one of its drugs in patients with moderate to severe atopic dermatitis. So looks like we're getting some good results there from a phase 1 clinical trial. It was placebo-controlled. This is driving the stock higher here. It looks like we had a little bit of a kind of a tease there on Friday in the after hours, came back into balance, but today the real move showed up with the volume. Stock is up 72+%. A quick peek at the short interest on this one, 20% of the float shorted with 6.47 days to cover. This technically meets our criterion for high short interest on both the percent of float shorted as well as the days to cover metrics. This could also squeeze, and in fact, some of the move that we've already seen might actually be shorts buying the price higher as they try and cover. On average, the stock trades 1.3 million shares. Today, it's done 12. The float here, much thicker at 60 million. But I'll be honest with you, that hasn't stopped it at all. Stock's still up 70%. Again, I really do think the short interest is playing in here. 13, what do you think on ticker CRVS?
Let's see. Well, so phase 1 clinical trial, like you said, that means there's a lot more cash burn ahead. They don't have any revenue. They just eat money like most biotechs do. So no surprise there. They're going to have to. Well, it looks like they're short-term investments. They could liquidate into cash. So don't know if they're going to need to raise capital anytime soon. It doesn't seem like they would at this stage. Although anything can happen with these biotechs needing money. As far as the technicals go, there was when you were talking, there was one thing that I noticed that was pretty interesting, and I think it's it could be a good guide as to where the price might go. If you look at let's actually look at a weekly chart. Tell me if you can see a trend here. So if you look at that high from June of 2023. There we go.
That's right here. Yep.
Yeah. So one thing I was noticing is that if you draw that a line through the November 2024 high, that kind of takes us up near where we're headed right now. So I think that's going to give us an idea of where the price might go this morning. It also kind of lines up with some previous levels if you look far enough to the left of where resistance was. So it's two different areas you can just line up there. So you have the trend, and then you have the previous levels back from, gosh, what year was this? 2018, 2017.
That's absolutely amazing, 13. That's absolutely amazing. So I'm looking at this. So first of all, your previous levels, you're well said, we're right up there. I'm literally drawing the line as you're telling me, and I'm eyeballing it. And then I go to the 5-minute chart and I'm like, we literally tapped this. We already tested this depth. That's proof positive of our concept right there. Just unbelievable. Really good pick there. CRVS. Okay. Did you have anything else? Can I move on?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Yeah. Look, I'm blown away. I've talked about the trend lines a lot. They continue to matter. It's really something. All right. I talked a little bit about Wrap Therapeutics. No trade here. This is a buyout. I covered the news on that earlier. Encouraging. I know people with food allergies, so that stood out to me. The other one here that I wanted to mention was Black Titan. This was one that I know the group has traded recently here. This is ticker BTTC. This stock was about $1.50, $1.70 on Friday. Actually traded up to $4.50 here today. Now, in the process, we've lost the VWAP. We are doing our absolute best to hold on to the 65 EMA right now. That is not a guarantee. We take a look at the news here on Black Titan. We do have something for today. Reported on Friday, Black Titan secures up to $200 million from U.S.-based institutional investor to accelerate its DAT Plus strategy and scale digital asset infrastructure. So Black Titan actually getting a newsprint here. Again, it was from Friday after hours, so we're responding to it here today. A quick peek at the short interest on this name, 1.27% with 1 day to cover, negligible. I don't think that's going to play into anything here. On average, stock trades just shy of 1 million shares. Today, it's done 52 plus million. The float here is 5.7 million. 13, what do you think here on BTTC?
I wish I had a little more time so I could look into this company some more, see exactly what it does. It says it does human resource and payroll consulting. So immediately I'm thinking, okay, so is it like a CRM or, is it to that effect, or is it some kind of, so I don't know enough about this company, basically is what I'm trying to say. And I would want to learn more about what this DAT plus strategy is that they have. So can't really speak too much on what the it's under the hood for the company. So I'm going to go to the chart on this one and see if I can find something there for y'all. And it looks like since losing the VWAP around 7:10 this morning, we did get some prints above it, but every time it seems like we go above the VWAP, the very next 5-minute candle starts taking us right back down. And here we are now beneath the VWAP again and the 65 EMA. We can't recapture this going into the open here, which we have about 10 minutes left on. I think we're going to break down beneath this low from 725, 730. That's going to be about 265. So looking like we're going to lose 265 here as we approach the open. If that happens, I'd be looking towards the 200 EMA as well as that impulse candle from the pre-market that we got, where it opened higher and then just sold off. I think you have that right there at the very beginning of the price action, that impulse candle at 405.
Right, yep.
So that's kind of lining up with the 200 EMA. I think that if we do lose 265, that'd be a pretty high probability area of where the price falls down to and gets support.
Yeah, I think that's spot on here. We'll see what we get there. BTTC. Okay, now really quickly here, some of the other stuff that's moving here. Obviously, Boyle is on here. It is cold in a lot of places across the United States. I saw Lion saying that it was cold in North Carolina. It is absolutely freezing here in Chicago. It's 5 degrees right now, wind chill under 0, and the feels like temperature under 0. As a result, we're seeing a lot of these natural gas stocks move here today. So anything connected to natural gas moving to the upside. UNG is the natural gas fund. Boyle is the 3X levered natty gas, or the levered natty gas, a ticker that we sometimes trade here. Just understand why those things are moving there. And then 13, was there anything else that you wanted to cover here in particular?
On BTC?
On anything. I was just giving a read down of natural gas and why those stocks are moving in anything. We had a request here from Nikolai in our Twitter viewers for a chart. So I'm just wondering if we can move there. But if you have something else that you want to go over first, let's do that.
Nope, we can move on with that.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back to the bigger chart here for this. We've got 8 minutes till we open. We can pretty much do ticker time. Nikolai was asking earlier if we would do a chart breakdown here on ticker AES. This is the AES Corporation here. I'll start with the chart. Now, I didn't have time to prepare for this, Nikolai, so I'm going to give you my thoughts here on the chart. Then I'm going to flip to the news and see if there's anything going on here. And I'm going to have 13 close it out here for you before we go to the next stock. Here's a look at the chart. So first of all, AES, this certainly has come off the 10 bottom. Looks pretty good, and we've done a really good job capturing some of the moving averages recently. We also are in an intact short, medium, and long-term trend. And actually, with the Benzinga proprietary rankings here, this is actually not terrible. It doesn't score crazy on momentum. That can change pretty quickly. Scores well on growth and well on value. Looking at this here, global power company that operates in 15 countries. It generates portfolio totals over 32 gigawatts, including renewable energy, gas, coal, and oil. So this is going to be one of your energy plays. I absolutely love the sector here. And looking at the chart, it sure looks to me like what we're attempting to do is break above this 500-day moving average. I've got that value there at 1463. This area here just kind of represents some recent highs. I would imagine if you end up breaking this area here, you can start to look for some other targets, maybe even in an 18 handle. Might have a little bit of resistance there at 16. But maybe that 16 to 18 handle would be the next area here. 13, what kind of breakdown do you have on AES? And I will be right back as you start that.
Oh, darn it. Okay. So when he gets back, I'm going to have him draw some lines because I think the levels that he just mentioned are become much clearer once you start going to longer term charts. So he mentioned one of the ones he said was 16. I think that's an absolutely fantastic resistance area. And if you draw a horizontal line at 16 and start looking at longer term charts like a weekly or a monthly, you can really see that $16 level stand out. I mean, that looks like that's going to be probably one of the bigger resistance areas. Now, he also mentioned 18. I can see that also being an area of resistance. You could draw a horizontal line there and see all the different price action on longer term charts, getting rejected at that area. 20 also looks interesting. So does 24 and 28. So I think I would be going with all of those. It seems like once, it's like every $2, there's a big resistance area until you hit $20. And it seems like it's every $4. So that's kind of what I would be leaning on here with AES is that resistance areas under 20 are going to be every $2, it looks like. And then after 20, it's every $4. So when he gets back, maybe we can have him draw some horizontal lines and we can better see that. Now, another thing that I'm seeing here just now, looking at the monthly chart, is that since we lost the 200-month SMA in November of 2024, that has been the big moving average to recapture. We did recently start trading above the 20-month SMA, but we have not been able to recapture that 200-month. Ryan, before you left, I was
let's draw some lines. I heard you.
Let's
I
draw
felt
some
terrible.
lines. No, it's okay. So yeah, I would. What I was mentioning with the horizontal lines is that underneath $20, it seems like every $2 there's a resistance area. So you could do one at 16, 18, and 20 horizontal lines, and then after $20, it seems like every $4 there's a large resistance area. So 24, 28 would be the next ones I would have, and then you can look at if you go to so you have a monthly chart on there. These are really starting to stand out now. Now that you have those horizontal lines in there, so that's kind of what I'd be leaning on. So, and then you also can see that that 200-month SMA continuing to get rejected. But it seems like as long as we're continuing to hold above 14, while the price continues to hammer that moving average, it seems like we might eventually break through it. But this is what I would be looking at on a chart. These different horizontal levels. I think we would need to see a recapture of that 200-month SMA, and then once we do, we can look at 16 and then 18 as the next resistance areas, because I think that's where the price could be headed.
Okay, really good breakdown there. AES, we'll see if we get that. Let me actually go back to a daily. That's exactly what I was hoping for. So looking at this daily chart here, a break above some of these recent highs really sets up the $2 steps that we just drew on there. Really good stuff on AES right there. Okay, also one more thing here real quick, and this is a good thing to cover here. So I just want to address this here. Geico Lizard 638. You do a really good job in the commercials, by the way. Question: how do you find these stocks before they skyrocket? Is it just pure luck? So, okay, this is a really good reminder to remind us exactly what we're doing every single morning. When we are reviewing the movers list, we are reviewing the stocks, new stocks that are gapping here. Inherent in this, or I would say mostly in this, we don't know what's going. We didn't know that something was going to happen here. In some cases, we did it. We try and shout that out, like if there was data that was due, or if the stock has an investors day or something like that, and we anticipated maybe some new news flow. Perhaps we're prepared for that. But the goal of what we're trying to do here is we're trying to find out what stocks are gapping up, and is there any continuation play for those that missed it. So just to kind of go back to your question here, is it pure luck? Yeah, in a sense, the fact that it's moving that day might be luck, because we don't know what's necessarily going to happen in the future here. We think we might have a good idea. But is it pure luck that you're buying some of these? No, not really. For example, the drone names that started to go. I was very big on the drone theme. In fact, I was early, and for a while I was wrong on the drone theme until I wasn't anymore. And then it wasn't luck in those cases. 13 did a masterful job of outlining that space as a theme is likely going to move multiple stocks. So some mornings when we came in here and some of the space stocks that we were looking at is up, was that luck? No, we had identified a theme there. But every single day, there's unpredictable things that are happening here, and our goal is twofold. Number one, is there something that we can learn from what's happening here that we might be able to apply elsewhere? Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. Today, I would say that the only thing I can apply off the movers list is the fact that, hey, our biotech theme is continuing, and it's cold, and natural gas stocks are responding to that. Otherwise, it's just kind of a hodgepodge here. And then the other thing that we're trying to do is we're trying to give you tactical levels for you to be able to trade these in case you don't have anything else on the docket. So we're not trying to hit all of these gaps. That is a fool's game. We're trying to make sense of these gaps when we can. Good question, nonetheless. All right, let's move back over to the movers tool here. To the main workspace here. Boy, I'm all over the place, 13. And let's see what we got right out of the gate.
So far, I'm not seeing. Maybe IVF starts to move here. It's getting a little bit of volume, but we're trying to push through the VWAP. Let's see if it can do that.
Okay, notably here. Now it's early, and I don't necessarily want anyone to freak out here, but notably early here, the markets are up out of the gate. Remember, we talked about Red Dog earlier. He was looking for stocks to maybe that he didn't have to hold and flash bullish signs. Some of those were Apple, Google, Tesla, and Amazon. Izzy, you asked about Amazon. Buy level here, can it hold 230? 230, maybe 231. So far here, Amazon actually doesn't look terrible. It actually looks like it was up off the 231 low here in the pre-market. I'm going to give this a bit because I don't want to be sucked into a bull trap here. But to answer your question, Izzy, 230 to 231 is that level it needs to hold here today. Okay, sorry, 13, for being a little too verbose there. We'll keep taking a look at the movers.
No problem.
Okay, Corvus here. So it looks like as far as one of our movers here, CRVS, this was a pull to the VWAP and a bounce early. We'll see if that volume continues. I think 14 is going to be the next level here. Again, maybe wait this one out here. That pop that I just talked about in the market, that is getting sold a little bit here. So I don't think this is time to be a hero at the moment.
And SHPH had a nice pop after holding VWAP, but it's not able to get above this 430, 435 area. It's been struggling with all morning. We did get that move that popped us up to $5 and came right back beneath it. So still looking at that 430, 435 area as being an area of strong resistance. Now you have a seller walking the price down. Probably be a good idea to wait for SHPH right now. TWG, that tried to also push over its VWAP out of the gate here. So far, not able to do it, but it hasn't broken down yet either. IVF, this one also trying to pop over VWAP as well. Kind of running the tough area that it's been dealing with all morning. This 365 area. So we're just slightly above it, trying to recapture 570. Sellers in the way, preventing that from happening right now. If it does manage to get through those sellers, next area that it could be tough for the price is going to be 415.
SHPH, that pulled off of its impulse move. IFV, this is actually continuing here. This is a pretty decent move through the VWAP. This was accompanied by the volume that we want to see and has the early makings of volume expansion here. I'll be honest with you, so far here, this looks good. I would say if the trade, remember what Red Dog told us earlier, right? On all of these that he was buying, whether they're bigger or smaller, as the stock moves up, he trims them. Well, taking a look at this, if 337, 340 was the buy spot here ahead of the VWAP, this absolutely represents trim level number one. Good little pop there to start. Graph mentioning that Ondas is green here out of the gate. And this is one of the things I wanted to see. This is why I asked Red Dog about defense, because I know that there's a lot going on with Greenland right now. And no, I don't know what's going to happen here, but I do have a little bit of suspicion that a lot of this has to do with boosting defense of a very strategic area of the globe. I don't know how it's all going to end like that, but I would be unsurprised if defense stocks actually responded well to this. So far here, Ondas moving. Also, keep in mind, we did get a $25 price target today on Ondas, but slow it down. It was from Wainwright. We've talked about Wainwright price targets before. That's what's going on. Nice to see this is moving out of the open here.
Look at
what else we got.
Look at GSIT. This one continues to hold the 200-day SMA, following that move through it in October. I'm sorry, that's the 200-month SMA. I realized I was just on a monthly chart. So yeah, 200-month SMA, we're still holding above that. Did see some selling in December, but we found support from the $6 area. So now we need to try and recapture that $10 area where we were getting that consolidation. So that's what I'd be looking at with GSIT right now. We need to get back up to $10.
Okay, and then here is the $1,000 scalp on Ondas out of the gate here. Really not bad. I did think that these were going to trade up, but I think if you had put a gun to my head, I don't think Ondas would have had a power vertical move out of the open. In fact, I didn't really expect that on a whole lot of stuff here today, but lo and behold, that's what we're getting. Let's also take a really quick trip through some of those bigger Mag 7 names that Red Dog talked about earlier. Here's Apple out of the gate. This looks like it's straight up. Tesla actually looked like this wanted to make 2 attempts to go higher here. Doesn't look like it's ready yet. Izzy, I know you're chomping at the bit here. Here's Amazon. I think it's still trying to figure out which way it goes. Honestly, from where I sit, I would love for this to roll over and retest some of those lows and hold it. I think that gives us really, really good entry here for a potential day trade. And what was the Google? Sorry, couldn't remember there. Let's take a quick peek at Google here. Here's what Google is doing. This too, straight up out of the gate. So it's early. We'll see what happens here. But so far, paring back some of those early morning losses.
SHPH with another attempt here to try and push through 430.
Okay, this is continuing to go. Chester saying, take a look at NUAI. Let's do that. NUAI, this is straight. Now, did this have anything going on? I do see the big volume move there.
Looks like CRVS is trying to come up and push for 15 again. This would be a break above that trend line if it did.
NUAI here on Friday. This looks like this was after hours here. New Era Energy and digital and primary digital infrastructure team up on a 1+ gigawatt Texas hyperscale data center development that is causing NUAI moving up here by about 30%. This is out of halt now, so this was halted when I was speaking. Sorry, Chester, I should have called that from the beginning. This resumed now while we were covering it. Looks like it's flirting there with 550 at the moment. IFV, that initial push into the trim area, it's slowed down here, but not broken down. So perhaps we have a little bit more decision here at 4, exactly. Yep. 13.
There's a seller in the way right there at 4. They're trying to chew through that supply.
And they're hitting him.
And if
they're chunking it. Yeah, and that we did not have the strength to go through it. Now we've pulled off that high. Okay.
Yeah, but 415, that's going to be the area to get through if we can, take this seller out. And if we do get through that, then the next resistance area is going to be up around 465.
Okay, that impulse move on the market ran into some selling here, but not a big pull, not a big breakdown. So I don't think there's a decision to be made as of yet. Amazon still flirting with 232. We really want to see that test 231. Brent, take care of yourself. Kathy mentioning EVTV, which has been another one of those small movers for us recently that has done pretty well. Kathy, what do you think here? To me, it sure looks like 440 is some upside resistance, at least here for the day. I don't think we're going to touch that steep trend line that we added the next time, but that recent high, if we do make it through 4, about 480 and a half, 484, 485.
Yep. And then after that, $5. If you look at a daily chart, that's what we were getting from September. Had a run up into the $5 area, came right back in. What's nice about this daily chart, though, is we continue to close over the 200. What is this? 200-day SMA. More continued closes over that makes this some really good support.
Okay, Kathy, perfect. I'm not in EVTV. I'm waiting for a pullback. That is perfection because that sets up my next question here. What is that pullback level? Are you using the daily to determine that? Are you looking at this recent formation? Do you want to pull back all the way till 3, or do you have perhaps more of an aggressive pullback level like 375? Let me know what you're looking for here, and I'll try to determine on the chart what that looks like. Good stuff there. On that. Also, really quickly here, Dream Chaser mentioning that BTTC is getting volume. That was going to be Black Titan. Let's check in on that real quick. That's up 84%. And indeed, looks like this held that the pre-market low area here, about 265. By the way, this is why we go over some of those gaps, because we can figure out where some of these levels are. Now it looks like a move back to the VWAP. We'll see if it has the strength to get above that. Ondas now higher than where it closed on Friday. Ondas has gone heavy red to heavy green, up nearly 9% now. You know, this has me wondering, 13, what do you think about some of the space plays here? We talked a little bit about, look at this. Here's Redwire. I know this might have a drone angle tied to it. That's higher here. How about Rocket Lab and ASTS? Oh, look at that. Rocket Lab is green. How about that? ASTS, same deal.
So the only space stock that's not green on my watch list here is Sirius, and that's only down by 0.02%. Everything else is just having a great day on the space watch list. Biggest movers: Sidaspace, SIDU, Satellogic, SATL, Fly Aerospace, FLY. All those doing really well. A lot of these up over 5%.
Wasn't there this F-Jet? This was another one of those recent space plays. So even this one is up, although this one not as in favor as the ones that you just mentioned, 13. USAR, we talked about this. We actually talked about this the week before. We talked about this with JR and with Derek Oldensmith from T3. They talked about these things having more of a range given what's going on globally here. Look at USAR. Possible breakout of this recent formation here. Maybe we move higher. 13, what do you think about 23 and 3/4 or 24 here on USAR? There's a potential gap back here from October of last year. Looks like maybe this will be a next level if we continue.
Following this double bottom, that 24 looks like that's probably going to happen here. But to your point about it moving over 20, what we had a rejection here this morning at 20. I think that if we continue to hold above 1750 and keep trying to push over 20, eventually it's going to give way. That's just what it looks like. It looks like we're seeing the resolution of a W-shaped recovery. This double bottom here, pretty apparent. I think 24 is certainly, looks like it could happen. Just need to get above that $20 resistance.
Okay, really quickly here, Izzy giving us the play. Ondas reload 1250 if it goes. I'm looking at my chart here. I've got the VWAP at 1253. So Izzy, it sure looks like a VWAP pullback there on Ondas represents another possible short-term day trade setup there.
TWG is halted. I think this is an upside halt.
It is, and it's right at the VWAP. In fact, just shy of VWAP. And
just above that VWAP is a big resistance area that it's been dealing with all morning. This 850, 845 to 850 looks like it's going to be a breakout spot if we do get that volume. Large seller in the way at 850. We'll see what happens out of the halt.
I'm seeing Ondas calls across the tape here. These are this week's calls, and they're also the 1250s. So I'm actually not 100% certain if those were a new trade there or if maybe that's somebody lightening off the move higher here. Jay saying all of the 2026 themes were bought here today. Metals, space, critical minerals, drones, and defense. That's, again, another reason why I wanted to ask about some of the defense names there. Zach, you had mentioned here I was expecting a fat drop at the open. That hasn't happened. That's a big time testament right there. Stay nimble. What you think is going to happen doesn't always happen. So really good stuff there. I agree with you. But going in for tomorrow, I can't see how markets remain long. Let the market tell you what to do. We'll see if this drop is or if this trade up here out of the open is only temporary and still gets sold here today.
Quantum not participating in this price action today. These are getting hammered.
Okay.
Rigetti lower, QUBT lower.
Okay, really quickly, I'm glad that you mentioned that. Here's UMAC, huge reversal. Indeed, a lot of the drones moving higher. Okay, let me get to the quantum theme here because someone asked earlier, 13, what we thought of Rigetti. And I'm going to start with you here. So you're seeing some of the quantums here. Has anything changed for you? Full disclosure, I did cover a quantum story this morning that I'm about to reference here. So you tell me what is your thought here on Rigetti and then maybe also the quantum space?
Well, I mean, I've always thought that Rigetti isn't worth the valuation that it's trading
Right.
at. So it wouldn't surprise me if the price, listened to reason and found its way lower. 2150 is going to be a big a big support area if we do go lower from here. And that's going to also get support from the 200-day SMA, which is at 2073. So if we do head lower, which certainly could happen, that's where I'd be looking for the next area of resistance. Right now, we need to see this breakdown of the 20-day SMA. Since we moved above it at the beginning of the year, we've held above the 20-day SMA, and it looks like we've just started printing beneath it this morning. So if we close beneath it, then I think that's going to spell some trouble to the downside. But I think that these will eventually come back. Because there's going to be some IPOs happening, some spinoffs. Honeywell, I believe, is spinning off their quantum business. There's also a SPAC, which is being brought to market by CCCX.
Mm-hmm.
The company should be called Inflection, I believe. So those are a couple of catalysts that could get the quantum theme going again. But right now, it doesn't seem like it's in favor.
No, and here's what I wanted to reference. So really quick, I shared a story earlier. I'll drop it in the chat for anyone that might have missed it. Story here was analyst Madeline Jenkins saying that quantum computing is a fragmented and immature market, calls Google the power player or the pioneer in this market, and then goes on to say that some of these other pure plays like Ionic, Rigetti, and QBTS are expected to be volatile. So to me, 13, the volatility, the downside movement that you were flagging in a lot of these, this is to be expected here. The other thing that was notable from here is that the report also noted that meaningful breakthroughs in the quantum space, despite the slow place, have actually happened. UBS predicts the era of quantum advantage, where quantum significantly outperforms classical systems, could arrive as early as 2030s. I know we've talked a little bit about this. You've been very consistent saying that this is sooner rather than later. To me, although the 2030s timeline is still being thrown out here, they're specifying that this is when the actual advantage is going to take place. So it does seem like you were correct there, but it also seems like some of these other stocks that we've taken a look at, still more trading vehicles than anything else. Google probably your best play.
Yeah, I don't think the hype's reached that point yet to where the fundamentals just don't matter anymore. I mean, it seems like we're already there with the valuations that some of these things are trading at, but I'm talking like how we're seeing with the whole AI theme, these chip stocks that have just gone gangbusters. That's what I'm more referring to, that we haven't seen yet from the quantum names. We've seen some pretty good moves, but I don't think we've seen anything like that yet.
Okay, Kathy, I love this. I will take this type of stuff all the time. Kathy says, I think there are many who sold Rigetti for a loss at the end of the year. I would completely agree with you. I'm waiting 30 days to buy and avoid the wash sale rule. So it looks like you're expecting perhaps another possible long side move higher here. And thinking about it is asking if Madeline Jenkins is related to Leroy Jenkins. As far as I'm aware, no, there is no relation there, thinking about it.
I don't know that Rigetti is going to be, one of the great names for the quantum theme. I think there's some other companies out there that will probably end up doing better. But when those other companies do really well, then Rigetti is going to certainly come back. So I don't think it's going to be the best in breed, but it's going to be one of those that you can take for a trade because other better companies are going to be moving.
I think proof of concept has already been shown here. You especially have done a great job outlining that Rigetti, this is the instrument to the upside. And then, of course, RGTZ, which maybe this is in favor now. This is how you can actually trade this to the downside. So, Dan, it was you that asked. I'm sorry I couldn't remember. Thanks for mentioning that. Our thought here on Rigetti is that, we do kind of see quantum in the not so distant future, we're probably staying away from things like Rigetti for investments or longer term trading. These are more short term. Maybe stick with some of the power players. Google, Honeywell, 13 just suggested as some of the long side stuff there. So, okay. Really good stuff there. Glad we got that. What do you got?
CRVS. This
Corvus.
was we were getting asked about resistance earlier, and it was like we mentioned that 15 along with that trend line. That was the area to watch for. We already got the rejection at once at 15. But here we are with the breakout above it now, and it's run up to 1585. Let me see where this could potentially run to next. But that was a nice resistance area that we got a breakout over. I don't know if we're going to start closing over this $15 area consistently. Could come back beneath it, but we are on a tear right now, looking for 16. Let me see here.
And really quickly, while 13's looking at that, shout out to any of you folks that traded Corvus. I know that there were several folks trading Ondas this morning, but Corvus, this is actually a really nice formation. Samel, I know that you were on that one. Looks like Carlos, you were on this one too. This is actually a pretty nice curl and then break higher here. I would be honest, if I was in this, I would be trimming this move. 16 to me sure looks like maybe a next spot it could slow down at.
Yeah, 16 is going to be a resistance area, but I think I like 1750 better.
Okay.
I don't know that we'll necessarily get up to 1750, but when I look at a weekly chart, that seems like a really interesting area where there's some heavy resistance. So maybe we get over 17 and try and stretch out toward that direction. But after 16, which we just passed, 1750 looks like the big resistance area to me.
Okay, awesome. Archangel says bought Corvus at 11. That's nice. Awesome. You're in profit. What is your target for exit on that? Ondas at the top of the scanner here, up about 10%. That is ripping higher here, back into a 13 handle. SHPH starting to make some upside wicks here. That actually a little bit concerning for a long side day trade here. I'm actually going to connect these with a trend line. What did you have, 13? Sorry.
I was just going to mention IVF. If we can hold above VWAP right here, which is also around the 365 area, if we can hold this level, we can still make this attempt for the 415 resistance area, which we hit in the out of the gate here in the regular session. So as long as we hold above VWAP here, I think that we're going to try and make a push for getting above 415.
Okay, really good stuff there. IVF, we'll see. 4 sure looks to be the big thing there. Or the big level there, if you will. Zach mentioning Netflix here. Earnings also today. And indeed, that is the case. So Netflix earnings after the bell. We also had some news here this morning regarding the Warner Brothers Discovery bid. Netflix, Warner Brothers Discovery agree to revise the structure of the previously announced transaction to provide $27.50 per share merger considerations to be paid to Warner Brothers in merger, and it will be paid entirely in cash, instead of a combination of cash and shares of Netflix stock. Now, Netflix reporting earnings here today. This is green by 1.6%. Also, Micron. So what a difference just a couple of hours makes. Micron continuing to the highs here. Yes, I did actually take a little bit of mud last week. I'm underwater on that short here, but it's okay because everything else is actually doing really, really well here today. What a difference this makes. When I first sat down here, one of the first tickers I took a look at were some of these memory names, and boy, oh boy, it sure looked like those were pulling back here. Now, all of them looking like they're trying to march higher. WDC, SanDisk, Micron, and Seagate, all trying to go higher here.
Yeah, lots of back and forth in the pre-market.
Indeed.
That took us back down to some of the highs prior to Friday. But no breakdown after hitting 360 yet. So I guess I'll just have to wait and see what the rest of the month's going to give us. 380 we are at now. Looks like it's going right to 400, and then maybe we'll see that cooling off that been anticipating.
SanDisk highs. Intel highs. Intel looking for maybe 50 prints here. Market also near the highs. NASDAQ leading the way higher here, as that is really starting to close the gap. NASDAQ only down 1.3% now. Down nearly 2% when we started the show.
Yeah, and IVF still trying for that 415 area, trying to get over 4 at the moment.
Daniel here saying shorting Micron at this point, not a good decision. So I completely agree. The whole thought here with MUD is that this is an easier way to gain downside exposure to Micron. Thought maybe a pullback, regression back to the mean could start here. So far, not the case. And Lion asking why we were shorting. Actually, what's that?
We explained this.
We explained this a number of times. This was actually a really good chart play. 13, I'll let you take it. This was, you had done a lot of the serious charting on this. Here it is.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why we short anything is because, I mean, it's been, going on a crazy run, and it needs to pull back. And I've been a big proponent of Micron going higher. I mean, Lion, I know that you're looking for 400, and I'm saying, no, I think it's going higher. But if we're going to start hitting these levels, we need to see some back and forth. We need to see some cooling off. We don't want this to get too extended and then just completely sell off to the downside, losing multiple levels. I want to see some rips higher, then some cooling off, find some establishment of a base, and then go higher again, just like we did at the end of the year last year. I mean, this is the price action that we were looking for. See what happened in November when we started selling off, and we had a nice corrective move down. And then after that, we turned around, ripped higher. That's what we were shorting for.
And a nice corrective move. We actually have several targets here that would be pretty good if this does give us a corrective move. So far, not great here today. But again, that was the whole thought process behind that Micron ad there. And frankly, that was like my one short position right now. Day like today, I thought initially when I woke up, okay, good. The short positions are going to pay here today. Not the case. Not the case, it turns out. Intel here still looking like it might try to go for 50. See, what else do we have here? IBRX, someone mentioned this one earlier today too. This is Immunity Bio, excuse me. Shares are trading higher after the company announced that it recently held a Type B end of phase meeting with the FDA regarding a supplemental biologic license application for Anktiva. So looks like more good news here. IBRX looks like 7. Looks like it's actually struggling with that 7 level here. NUAI getting mentioned. That was a good one earlier. Let me check in on that. Here is NUAI. Indeed, actually, this is another green candle power move to the highs. Kathy mentioning that SCOTUS is releasing their decision soon. We thought that might be able to come today. I didn't see anything on that, but perhaps I just missed it here.
Like they're going to issue their tariff decision today?
That's, I think, what she's saying. I don't see any newsprint on that, but I have not been like scouring this, so I very easily could have missed that. Femi, by the way, shout out to you, 13. You had covered this one in reference to IVF earlier. That's actually appearing on the scanner. So far, it's holding that area. Maybe it turns up. Nothing yet here, though.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of these movers just kind of ran out of steam.
And I'm kind of watching the market on that one, right? So we gave you some of those levels there. We talked about the 50-day at 681 being a level that we really want to close above. Here we are sitting right at it.
Okay. So it could be on a number of these other rulings that they have on their docket as well, which there are a lot. It looks like IVF trying to push up to that $4 and then the 415 area. Still hasn't given up the 365 support yet. But a lot of these names are not looking very strong. CRVS still holding above that breakout spot of $15, but we're coming back down to it right now. Hopefully it holds above it. If it does, we might see that 1750 that we were mentioning earlier. We go with IVF, looking at 4 over 4. 415 next. As a matter of fact, I think this went up to 410, so pretty close already. Just need to see a break over 415. Yep. If we get that, then next spot's going to be 465.
Anne-Marie, thanks for joining us here this morning. Hope your weekend was great. Anne-Marie saying the broad market is trying to recapture the gap down from Monday, but it definitely feels like it's running out of steam. That's what we're seeing. In order for it to recapture that gap, it would need to trade all the way back up to 691. That is 9 points away from where it's currently at.
IVF did break over 415, but got immediately hit with sellers.
Yeah.
So 425 is what we ended up getting there. Nice move up to the resistance area again, but have not been able to capture it.
Interesting morning so far.
Yep.
I will say, and I'm not willing to write anything off until I actually hear that closing bell here today. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Amazon so far held 232. So we did not get our 231, 230 yet, but so far holding in there. Crude also marching higher here, 1.8%. And our VIX, which topped 20 in the pre-market, actually a little bit lower here, 1969.
Only got a couple of trades in IVF and CRVS today, but not sure I want to take any trades for anything else right now. Seems like we're getting a little weak in some of these names.
Yeah, part of me is wondering, 13, if this little up move here is going to just kind of be a fake out. I would actually like to think if we get above 683 on the SPY and then maybe get some juice, maybe we can keep going here. Jay mentioning that the DR Horton dip was bought. They released earnings here this morning. Jay here mentioning those earnings were decent. Jay, I'll get you an update from our real estate professional. I believe if we see her in happy hour today, I'll try and have an update for you on DR Horton tomorrow. I didn't look through that report yet. Lion here. I absolutely love this. Lion saying today is a good day to take profit and trim your winners. Lion, you know exactly what I'm going to be asking.
Oh.
You trimming any of your gold and silver today?
I was trimming winners and taking profits the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Mostly the last week. That was. I mean, we were talking about raising capital.
Yes, we were.
Because we were anticipating some kind of opportunity that was going to be coming up here. With the SPY now back down at the 50-day SMA, there's certainly some opportunities out there, but I don't know that I'm necessarily a buyer right now. I think there could be some more downside ahead.
Okay, and really quick, regarding the Supreme Court, I'm seeing CNBC saying that they are awaiting the Supreme Court opinions. The decision on tariffs could come today, but they're not saying that that's for sure. Zach, I know that you had shared a Bloomberg report that they were anticipating that maybe today as well. Izzy says he's sitting on a lot of cash right now. Izzy, let me just ask you, just like hypothetically, like what would you, all things considered, what would you like to deploy that in? Would you like to add some of your long-term investments? Would you like to initiate new swing trades? Let me know how you're thinking about the cash pile that's larger than normal for you. And yes, 13, Lion, I had asked if you were going to trim any of your gold and silver, and I got 3 yeses. So no ambiguity there, I'm afraid.
AMD, ARM green, but NVIDIA and Broadcom weak.
Now, doesn't that say to me, my knee-jerk reaction to that is that shows continued rotation out of the really concentrated names, right? Like NVIDIA, definitely one of the concentrated names here. That actually is pretty weak, down 3.5%. That was actually a little bit weaker than I thought. Broadcom, another mention here. This chart actually looks pretty similar, down 3.2%. Do you think that's continued rotation out of some of the concentrated names, Jay? I mean, I don't feel like ARM was one of those concentrated names, maybe a momentum name for a while. AMD, we covered a lot of stories, about how AMD was behind in the AI move and also the personal computing move. So maybe this is still broadening out. Let me know what you think on that.
What's Google doing?
Amazon struggling to get back above 234, Izzy. I think that puts our 230 in play.
I'd have to, take some time to kind of figure out what the divergence is between some of these semi names, but because Broadcom has pretty much been sideways for a while, so I don't know why the selling versus AMD, which has been in an uptrend over the past week. So I'd have to, I would need more time to figure out what's going on. I'm sure there's a reason.
Okay, really quick here. I was asking some specific questions and I got the answers I was looking for. Izzy, waiting for long-term buys on a huge dip with that cash that's sitting around. Some of the stocks that you're looking for, Amazon, Ondas, Pally, and some of the space stocks, all within the themes that we have been talking about. That makes sense. Tess here saying, I'm the same as Izzy. The option account is 100% cash and sitting on hands. Tess, the only thing the only follow-up question I have for you is, what types of things are you trying to target? And are you waiting for maybe a little dip like we're seeing here today, or like a big plunge? That's what it seems like Izzy's waiting for. And then Joe here saying that all of the Mag 7s got whacked. And indeed, I still feel like this is some of the rotation out of those leaders there.
I think we need to kind of just, give it up to our chat for being smart enough to know when it's time to, get into cash and be ready for the next series of moves in the market. We've been, keeping an eye on how extended things have been getting, thinking, okay, well, we could see some pullback here. Let's take some profits. Let's raise capital. And now you folks are all, you're getting in cash, and you've been getting in cash. So I think that you guys are absolutely smart. You're doing it right, and you should be rewarded.
Also mentioned Pola here.
Yeah.
Wis, this is a good mention. Not only did we get the move to new highs that took us above the pre-market and the after hours highs, but we also got that expanding volume that we had really hoped for. We're continuing to see that here. Anil is asking for SPY support levels. Let me go back to the big chart and I'll draw that here for you. We are approaching one. 681 and change was going to be your 50-day moving average on the SPY. We are basically right there so far here today. I've got 681.16. I've got the current price at 681.87. So we'll see here on SPY. We are at a key level, 50-day moving average. Anil, we want to see a close above this level here today.
And with regard to Polar Power, because I've traded this one a long time ago, and this one was moving when I traded it. It was moving on hurricane news. So I think the reason you might be getting some movement here with this one today is, isn't there kind of a lot of areas that are being snowed in right now? Isn't there the weather kind of preventing people from having to be able to go anywhere, and they need to have mobile power?
I don't know about that. I know here in Chicago we got a dusting, but it's not so much the snow as it is the temps that's got people worried here. But you know what? I'm pretty sure last week, like in Michigan, it had been snowing for like a week straight. Izzy, you're in Michigan, right? Let me know what it was like by you. My buddies and my coworkers here in Detroit were literally saying this is some of the longest snow we've seen.
Yeah, I've noticed that Pola tends to go on news like that, where there's regions that are stuck in place, or they don't have a whole lot of mobility, but they still need power. And being that these are I think one of the big things they do are diesel generators, and providing mobile power. So that's only reason why I was kind of bringing that up. But Pola Power, this one does tend to do a lot of trading really good one day, and then it's right back down the next day. So just be careful with this one. You can look at a daily chart to see how this one has traded in the past. It has really nice big run, and then it comes right back in.
Yeah, this is one of those that sure seems like this is the move that you want to see in order to take gains. Frankly, definitely don't be buying this. Okay, a couple of things here real quick. Mama Bear, great to see you again. Welcome back. 2 of the 4 opinions have been released. Both of them were not the tariff decision. That's it for the day, right? Or do we still get another one? You'll have to let me know. Izzy saying Grand Rapids awful 100-car pileup. I did see that on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that looked awful. So 13, I don't know if that's playing into the theme of people not leaving, but I'll tell you what, I occasionally drive to Michigan, whether it's golf or work related or what have you. And I'll tell you something there. I have seen a number of times one of my good friends had an accident that was not his fault. Those roads are nasty. So I would definitely stay in and avoid that. Izzy, I hope you and your family are safe. Mama Bear says more decisions are yet to come. Sorry, 13.
IVF hitting that 415 area again. Haven't been able to break through it. We've been trading printings above it, but no closes above 415 yet. Trying to do it here.
By the way, really quickly, as we were just talking about Micron, I'm seeing put sweeps come across the board here in Micron. These put sweeps, these are all for the beginning of February or January 30th. They range here between 200K and 30K per trade, and they're targeting the 340, 290, and 305 strikes. So we are seeing put sweeps here on Micron. I know this pushed up to 380, coming back in a little bit. Just noticed it there on the unusual option feed. IBRX call sweep, by the way, that's one of our movers there. Now I'm seeing Micron calls.
TWG losing the 65 EMA on the 5-minute. That could be the sign that we needed to just stay away from this one. We'll see. There may be some support coming down underneath 6, but we've seen this one plenty of times. Open higher or run up in the regular session, only to be sold off or later in the day and end up lower back down to where it began the following day.
Zach saying Ondas rumors is that they're close to $1 billion deal with Israel. That would be amazing. I would also like to see one for the United States. I will caution you, rumors are just rumors, but that should be pretty good. Lion, I love this. Lion says, if you have a winner, take profit. Things can go south quickly. We're kind of already seeing that, by the way, since we've started. I mean, I know you were talking about TWG here, but since we've started talking, SPY gave up that 681 area that we were talking about. And then here we go. Mama Bear says, no tariff decision today. Clarence saying the same thing. No tariffs today. There were only 3 opinions. They're all out. So you can at least scratch that off the board here. Thank you both for that, by the way.
IVF still trying to push and close over that 415. We might get it here with only seconds left. But if we do get this, we're going to want to see that 415 act as support. And now we've closed over it. So 465, next resistance.
Nice job on your MU calls here. Lion, if this is the reversal day and you basically top tick that, that's going to be even more impressive. By the way, that market trade up that we were talking about, selling back off here now. We just took a look at the SPY, NASDAQ doing the same thing, Dow doing the same thing.
Oh, man.
Besant says the Japan bond market is more likely responsible for the dip than Greenland. Again, I think the Greenland rhetoric is less than ideal. I'll give you that. I really don't think U.S. troops are going to be marching across Greenland to trying to take it over. I'm sorry. I don't buy it. I'm not pulling my hair out for that. And then that's one of the other reasons why in street tweets today I showed you those rising bond yields. Because that is definitely impactful. It's something, shout out to our happy hour group. We've been talking about that for some time now, 13.
Don't we have more U.S. troops than in Greenland right now than there are NATO troops?
Yes.
Okay. Then I don't think this is serious.
Yeah, I don't either. Again, just to kind of recap some of the things, obviously Trump has Trump rhetoric that got a lot of people nervous. It is what it is. Denmark responded by sending more troops there, not to fight U.S. troops, but rather to secure it. There multiple presidents prior to Trump have specified that Greenland is a strategic area. I think a lot of this is bluster. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, and this is just something that we've seen out of the Trump playbook already during his tenure. I mean, he'll say or do something that rattles markets. Yeah, exactly. Ruffles the feathers, and then people start freaking out.
Then they start talking.
Yeah, right. It's destabilizing. That's part of his art of the deal. He likes to stabilize, and then go back into building it back up. Sorry, go ahead.
That was completely my fault, 13. I tried to get in there too many times. That's why I thought Zach's question at the beginning of the show here today about, hey, I know we're facing this dip here, but and maybe we should wait it out, but is this dip buyable? And I think that's one of the things that we're still going to try and figure out here. Speaking of buyable, IVF 13, this was a really good mention here. This did move back above 4 and that 415 area. I got to think 5 is going to be your next area of resistance.
We're waiting for that 465 area. That's the next line I've got. We did print like 493 in the pre-market, but that whole area, that whole time we were trying to get up to 5. 465 stood in the way. So I'm looking at 465 as the current big resistance area right now. The print that we got so far in this current candle is 458. So haven't even got up to that level I'm looking for yet. TWG, by the way, halted the downside. I think this was
How about that?
This was just a great name to not stay in or to be in at all. So I'm glad that that we didn't take any risk here. One thing I wanted to also mention is that, and I wish I had mentioned this last week, but we have begun to see multiple 100% runners. And typically when that starts to happen, it's indicative of a market top. So certainly looks like we have seen that. We're getting some weakness here today. This could continue into later in this week. But like we've been saying, I don't think this is going to be a prolonged downturn. We just needed to correct a little bit. Should continue higher later on.
Okay. Corvus, by the way, this is, I was just kind of looking because you were talking about 100% runners. This was one when this traded above 16. Looks like it pulled back. We'll see if this gets back above 100% as it continues to move to the highs there. SHPH, I beg your pardon. This was a huge runner here, but boy, oh boy, that trend line really looks like the force field right now. Sure looks like this is probably coming back in. I got 295 as the next possible target there.
Yeah, I like that 65 EMA. Yep.
So
I think you're right. We are at a support area right now, but it looks like we're about to lose it. This support area was, built by the all the price action we had after 8 o'clock until about 8:30 when we broke through that resistance that was at like 340. So now that's support that we're losing.
Really quick, Pola, this did move above 350 here as it looks like that's trying to take another leg higher, although it was sold back down to where it started. And unbelievable, but it looks like Lion might have top ticked Micron as we continue to pull back a little bit from the 380 high here. Good Lord, Lion. I mean, if you top tick this, that's going to be something else. That is going to be something else here. Okay, and then there was, let's see, there was another thing that I was going to look at. One of the stocks here, but I lost my train of thought.
There's one that's been moving slowly. It's not up too much, but it's kind of interesting. It's still going. It's OCG. This was from last week.
Okay.
It didn't do a whole lot out of the gate, but the past 20 minutes have been something's a little bit special here. Coming up to somewhere between 210 and 215. Looks like that's going to be the next resistance. We're right about there. We're right there right now. So we might see it pull back. But just thought it was interesting because it was going on a bit of a run there.
More IBRX call sweeps, by the way. So I know we were talking, this is a potential bot or a potential mover to trade here today. 750s look like they're going off there. It's only a $40,000 trade, but it sure looks like this is going to try and take out the day highs and make a move towards that 750 area.
Yep. That's what it looks like to me too. And SHP still looking for that move down to the 65 EMA. Top Wealth still halted. IVF, well, trying to hold above that 415. BTTC, this came down to the 65 EMA, lost it, then regained it, but still struggling with some of these other EMAs. If we capture the 65 and then the 15, this might recover. IPRX, I think you're going to get that move through 740.
Sure feels like that. And with the call sweep behind it, looks like there are other traders looking for the same thing here. I'm curious to see if this gets rejected at this test higher. Matt's asking what's up with FRXS. Not one I've looked at here, Matt. Let me see if I can figure that out here for you. This is just a penny stock. Oh, but this had I see what you're asking about. So stock had given up its prior gain. Foresight Autonomous Holdings, we're trading higher after the company announced a majority-owned subsidiary, iNet Mobile, advanced its strategic collaboration in Japan with SoftBank. Looks like the market doesn't give a damn about that, though. Boy, they sold this thing off. I hope nobody got hurt by this one. Man, I wonder what the hang up here was. V2X collision prevention technology in Japan. That was for the autonomous driving? iNet Mobile. Man, I'm sorry I'm not up on this one, but what a move that was. Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, I'm just looking to see what might have happened here with this. I'm sure there's a lot more information in that Form 6.
Yeah, it looks like this was a continued collaboration. So I'm not sure how much of this was new, which makes me wonder if people kind of reacted to this like it was new, and then actually nothing's really changed here. And then we, like a pendulum, we've kind of swung to the other side. This is down 34%, though. This is Matt, I'm glad that you brought this up. I'm sorry I don't have any more insight for you on this one, but man, oh man, I hope nobody got hurt with that. Yikes, Daily doesn't. Oh man, what do the financials look like on this company? Because this looks like one of those death spirals that's just no bueno.
It doesn't seem like they're devoid of cash. It seems like
No,
they've
it
got
doesn't.
enough.
And it actually seems like they can handle multiple quarters with the cash position that they have. Don't see any insider transactions, negligible short interest. Sorry, Matt. I wish I had something better for you on this. I'll let you know if I come across anything. I actually haven't checked out the Twitter streets. I might get something from that from Twitter. Or X. Sorry, I keep doing that. Pola, another new hot as this rips to the highs. My gosh. Last week, some big bets in Netflix out into July. The fast risk reversal trade was a bust on the 40 puts, or was a bust. The 40 puts may offer support. I didn't follow any of those. What do you have, 13? What do you got?
Well, I mean, I'm just wondering if maybe SoftBank's stock coming down might have anything to do with that. There's several of them, so I'm not sure if I'm looking at the right one. But SFTBY is the one that I noticed that was down 5%, and they also have this news in their news feed. I don't know if it's SoftBank coming in that as a result of the bond situation in Japan. If that is the reason for it, I'd probably lean on it as being maybe. I'm sure it's going to roil banks in Japan. And being that this was a collaboration with a bank in Japan, I think that could be the reason why you're seeing FRSX come in. But like I said, I don't know if that's the case 100%. It just seems like it could be.
Costco. So this is a really good one. We were talking today about the Supreme Court decision, and I'll tell you what, it sure seems like you can trade Costco on the Supreme Court decision news. Costco was trading higher out of the open. This thing, big time reversal, 13-point reversal here. Since we learned that the ruling is not coming today.
Yeah, and even if when we do get that ruling, I don't think that this is going to go up. I don't think they're going to be able to get any money back from tariffs.
Sell the news effect, maybe?
I probably. I mean, because the court could easily just say, it's only going to be tariffs going forward. We're not going to, create any business shocks by, saying, oh yeah, everybody can start suing and getting their money back. It's just going to be going forward, and anything else that they don't rule on, they'll probably kick it to Congress, and they'll just issue a stay until that they can rule or make a law. So I don't know about this with Costco. I think that this could represent a good area to either if you're trading this, take gains, or wait for an opportunity to buy it lower. I'm not sure that I'd be wanting to be a buyer ahead of the Supreme Court ruling for Costco.
Okay, 8 minutes until we move over to Anne Marie's segment here. 13, I'll be honest, this has been an eventful day here. I have no new trades here today. I didn't day trade any of these things. I'm still kind of in wait and see mode. I think what I'm looking at the most here today is where the SPY closes with relation to that 50-day. I almost think that's going to be one of the more important things.
IBRX, we got it. I think that when I was mentioning earlier that after I had done those 2 trades in IVF and CRBS that I was kind of finished, market can do whatever else. It's just, I just didn't like the way the market breadth was looking. And I felt it was probably just a better idea to wait and see if anything sets up. That IDRX trade, that looked pretty good. It ended up getting 753. We were looking for that break over 740. I think you had mentioned 750. You got it. Great call.
Okay.
Bull chart. Bull chart. What is bull at these days anyway? Ooh, looking ugly. This looks like it's trading into a
this thing
triangle.
just, I know a lot of people want to trade this long. I get it. And after seeing Robinhood, I get it more. But boy, oh boy, has this thing been a disappointment. The one thing I will say here is this is one, especially if you lost money on this, but you still believe the thesis, definitely keep it on the back burner here. 13, what are some things that we can look for to maybe turn around here? Anything that come to mind? I mean, the chart is obvious. I'm just thinking if there, what else could really be a positive catalyst here to make this a good trade to the upside? Because there's been a lot of head fakes on this one.
It'd have to be some kind of news about new products that the company's coming out with. Maybe an entrance into prediction markets, which I don't think would be good, but
I almost think that would be a short-term pop, to be honest.
It'd be good for the company because it's going to bring more people in. But man, this chart doesn't look great to me. It looks like this is going to go lower, like maybe it goes to 6 or something. Maybe, I don't know. But the formation right now makes me think that this is going to go lower, make some new all-time lows. But couldn't tell you exactly when that's going to happen. They would have to come out with some kind of products that turn this thing around and make it more appealing. Because
here, I think JD from our chat, this is this is a fairly obvious one, but I want to expand on it a little bit. First of all, I think JD's right. Bigger number of users.
Yes.
Now, I think furthermore those users and how they're segmented and how they're actually deploying funds is also going to be important there. But I think generally speaking, the more users they report in all of their products, the better it's going to be for the stock.
Right.
Lion here says you got to be above 820. And bull is opening in Europe, according to Zach. Thank you, Zach.
That's the kind of thing that I'm alluding to here. So it's gonna, things that are gonna bring in more people.
Tracy.
And new products. If they enter prediction markets or if they offer some kind of banking solutions or I think they already have retirement funds. There's a number of things that they could offer to draw people to their platform, and I think that that's what it's going to take, and they're going to have to report that as
Tracy says if all else fails, have Sydney Sweeney advertise for it. Okay, maybe let's not bank on that one, but
they have to say Sydney Sweeney has good trades.
Oh man, the 13. Why has that marketing department not reached out to you? I don't know. Anil says I made $500 off on this, and you're done for the day. Keep the money in your pocket. I love it. I love it. All right, 13. We got a couple of minutes left here. Is there anything that you want to cover before we wrap and then go to Anne Marie?
No, I'm just gonna see what the market does today. We do have a bit of a red day here, so I just want to see if we were going to show any signs of recovery. We'll have more to talk about tomorrow, I'm sure, and I'll see you in the happy hour. We'll kind of figure out what we can anticipate tomorrow. But until then, folks, have a great time with Anne Marie.
Well, hang on. We got to do a wrap up of some of these movies.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
It's okay. Myself. No, I love where your heart's at here. Real quick, Zach said Izzy said the market is looking better here. We had talked about this. I'm still in the camp. 681, that 50-day moving average, 681.16 or 681 and change on the SPY is going to be your key level here for today. Let's see if we can hold above it. We'll see here in SPY. I don't want to make too early of a call. I will say some of these charts are turning around. Amazon is higher. Ondas, obviously. Apple might have held 250. So we'll see. All right, 13. Let's go ahead and take a look at the movers and let's break down. Let's do a wrap up here on some of the movers. We'll start here with IVF. What do you got on this one?
Well, we did get some of the prints we were looking for about 15 minutes ago, but since then, it's come back in, and we're looking at VWAP support. The momentum in this is clearly started to die off. So I think that keeping an eye on VWAP is what we're going to want to watch for the time being. If we start to lose that, then I think that this is going to be done for the morning. We'll probably get some better trades if it finds support down around, somewhere between 325 and 350, around that 65 EMA area. But right now, it looks like this one to me is going to need to be cooling off, for the rest of the morning.
And now we have an intraday trend line here. So if this lower high here represents a downtrend, we'll see if it's going to have the strength to take this out in the regular session. Okay, next one here, TWG. I don't really think there's a whole lot of wrap up here. We told you to be warned. We told you to be careful. We told you this is probably one of not the best movers, and here we are. What do you got?
Maybe this, does give a bounce around $5 where the 200 EMA is. And that gives us some kind of a relief trade. Maybe we'll see $6 again, but I wouldn't expect this to do great things. It could do crazy things, but I wouldn't expect it to do great things. So what I mean is, if this somehow manages to run up and recapture VWAP, which is up near $8, that'd be a pretty good sign for you to be selling, I would say, because it could come right back in, give everything back, and end up going lower to where it started around 350 this morning. So this one, not a great vehicle for trades right now. Maybe it does give one or two good ones from here, but just if you're going to trade it, understand that this is very risky and it's not worth holding on to.
Okay, next one here, SHPH. This one also seems risky. Seems like this might actually be done. The trend line here, this has really told the story here today. We had the impulse move. It's really not firmed up at all. Maybe it does it here. I've got that 65 EMA down there at 3. Maybe that'll be the spot, but I wouldn't hold out too much hope here. Anything for you on SHPH?
Yeah, this has been pretty weak even before we opened. And it's just it's tried to recapture the 525 area. Haven't closed above that all regular session here. We printed above it, but couldn't close above it. So to me, this looks like it still could head lower. And I think that 65 EMA you mentioned could be the area where it gets support. Now, it does seem like it's going a little bit sideways for the moment, but I still think we could see some lower prints. Maybe this one does trade a little bit better in the afternoon. But for now, it still looks to me like this could see some slightly lower prints before we start turning around. But the momentum to the downside has started to slow. So there might be something later here.
Okay, next one on our list is Corvus. This is ticker CRVS. This was moving on the news that it had from its results from cohort 4 of that phase 1 clinical trial. The move here today was great. It obviously produced a huge gap. We actually did peak above the trend line. To me, I want to see if we close above that trend line. Looking at the intraday chart here, we can see very clearly where that is. That value here intraday, just about $15. So 15 going to be important. This thing has actually had a pretty orderly move higher. 13, any closing words on this?
It's been riding the VWAP up pretty well this morning. Ever since we captured it in the pre-market, this has been getting some really good support from VWAP. So that's going to be the one indicator that you're going to want to keep an eye on. So we start closing these 5-minute candles beneath VWAP. I think that's the indication that this is going to be done. Don't know if it's going to be for the day or just the morning, but you can clearly see that VWAP has been, giving it a really nice lift all the way into the regular session. So I'd be very careful if we start closing underneath that.
Okay. All right, 13, really good stuff here on the wrap up. We will see you on happy hour. Any last words for the group?
Have a wonderful rest of your day, folks. Have a great time with Anne-Marie, and I will see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.
All right. Sounds good. 13, really good stuff as per usual. 13's departure, of course, leaves room for Anne-Marie. Let's check in with her. Anne-Marie, how you doing here today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. Another day, another dollar. And as I said at the Open, Indiana University, the most losing program in college football history today is a national champion. And that just has me believing, look, if anyone tells you you can't do something, look them square in the eye and say, challenge accepted, because stuff like this is extremely inspirational. But I'm doing really good.
So awesome. Yeah, I watched that game. I was hoping for Miami not to score any points, but we said when I was in college, we would play the U, and they were so obnoxious. Sometimes the fans there just drive me crazy. So, anyways, great game. Super happy for those guys. What I wanted to start with today is sort of get a feel for what's going on. So the VIX is up, but only slightly. It's fallen below 19. We need to put an alert on that. If it pops up over 20 and then closes the day on 20, you can do \VX because that's the tradable VIX. You want to watch for that. So that would be one thing. But what we're trying to do is recover the fade down. And a lot of people are picking Greenland, but this is clearly the Japan bond
Okay.
event, right? This is not whatever. So what we notice is that the NAS only has a little pocket of green. We've got a few things. Dexcom, which I love Dexcom, as you know. So we could take a look at that. Netflix is up.
Now Netflix, we talked about they're going to have their
Yes,
earnings.
earnings.
We looked at an earnings trade last week. Nothing really looked great. So I think what we'll do is we'll revisit
Wait
Netflix
until
on
Friday.
Yeah, for a post earnings.
Perfect. And so are there any things that have popped up on the...
Yes.
Okay,
I've got
I'm
two
ready.
things here right away. The first one is going to be Amazon. Now I can't remember if we did this last week. This has been in the news here.
I don't think we did.
You do think we did? You don't think? Okay. So one of the reasons I want to bring this up is we actually talked to Scott Redler this morning, and we were looking at the exact same thing. I think he had said 230. I was looking at like 230 to 231. So really looking for the next move here in Amazon. And then perhaps related to this, but maybe not, also Costco. Because Costco, while it seems to be retail, does seem to be trading with the back and forth in the Supreme Court tariff issue. So maybe there's a way we can use options to take advantage of that.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, let's take a look at this. So Amazon, from a weekly perspective, let's do ourselves a favor and clear this drawing set so we look at a clean slate. So what we're staring down is a chart that's got a little bit of lift, right? If we take a look at the monthly, this is super important. What are the traders that have deep pockets? What have they been doing? Well, they've been buying this edge at or near 220 to 225, and they've been moving it up and trying to close above 250. So for me, this chart has got more upside draft if it can breach 250. And so that's going to be my line in the sand for a longer term trade. By the same token, if we lose this edge, let's give it a little squish and let's bring it down to 210. We know 200 is a big fat round number, but let's bring it down here to the edge of the wicks. And we'll create an alert there. We want to see if it loses below. Until it does that, it's actually caught in a box. And so the question is, what's the trade? So for me, if I'm looking at options and I go, all right, do I want to take a breakaway trade to the upside? This isn't telling me that. This is telling me that the traders that are accumulate at the base, but they are not giving me something that says, hey, absolutely, go for it from a monthly perspective. So now if we stare down the week, we can see that that same 240 to 250 that we might be wanting to look at, we gapped, we held down, we gapped down a little, filled the gap, and then we've had two gaps down. So this suggests to me that the buying event is not until we test these lows or we breach the high. And so that would be me. If I'm staring down, okay, what's a hold that won't make me go, oh my gosh, can I sleep here? Because I've got a position that could turn upside down. So while it's doing this, what's my favorite thing to do? It's an iron condor. So what do we want to look at? We have earnings coming in just a few days, right? 2.5. Okay, so we've got a couple of weeks, really. So we can stare down March. If you want to do March, give it a little bit of room. Let's see where the option traders are sitting. 33,000 of them are at the 200. That seems really normal, right? Big fat round number.
Mm-hmm.
I would guess the 200 and the 300 are going to have the most events. But if we say 200 to 190, let's see what they're saying. 250. So they're not really punching things up too much. And frankly, the 215, the 220 is deep in the money here. And so they aren't really positioned with a ton of bullish motion here, which I'm a little surprised, because I think Amazon will get through whatever they're going to get through. So here's what I would recommend. Put an alert on your chart and say, hey, I'm going to wait until my price action breaches the level or tests the level. Otherwise, I'm either going to take the iron condor or I'm just not going to trade it at all. But right now, in my mind, I'm looking for what big money is trying to do. And they're pretty much treading water here. They really, really are.
Mm-hmm.
This is the highest peak of motion from a high to low, and they are sitting inside of this one weekly candlestick from the last earnings. So remember what I talk about with earnings. You give it a few days. If it doesn't hold above the edge after a retest, it's not a buy. Here it is at the base. So far, the traders are saying, hey, listen, you can buy in here, but that floor is clearly saying to me, listen, it's better for us to just wait until we clear this earnings box or break down or break out from it. Right now, it's just, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
That.
I love this. I love the differing views there. We'll see which one we end up getting here. This is a really good breakdown. This is another way to play it. So good stuff.
Yeah, certainly. And Scott's time threshold is tighter than the one I am describing.
Yeah.
And so if you're looking for that quick trade, the gap fill looks like a very nice potential run. The question is how much weight, because remember, when the bond markets get jiggy like they are right now, sorry to bring back that 90s term, but when they get like that, liquidity gets pulled out of the market. And so when liquidity, I'm glad that gave you a chuckle. When liquidity gets pulled out of the market, it's harder for prices to climb. So that's the only backdrop there. Let's take a look.
I'm confident enough in myself to admit that I owned the Will Smith album in the 90s when I was a kid. I listened to that in Miami plenty. So I'll date myself.
Will Smith. I do. He's
okay.
fun. All right.
Okay.
So let's take a look at Costco.
Perfect. And I got another one for you afterwards, and it is perfect for today. So I'm excited.
All right. Okay. So once again, let's take a look. Wow, that one's been on a tear. Okay. So let's take a look at the monthly. A lot of oscillator alerts. So here's the monthly chart. That is very interesting. This, obviously, you know, they're in a row with the administration over these tariffs. If per happenstance, the tariff gives us, if they go, hey, that's illegal, you can't do X, Y, or Z, Costco is going to be in great shape for another big move, right? In general, they're highly owned institutionally. And so how institutions move is going to be really important here. So what are we seeing? If we go to the very last earnings event, we're above that zone and we've held the low, right? The next earnings event, 3.5, things look really good. Below 844, I think we have a problem. And so we'll put an alert there. And then the retest of the 926 puts us back in this earnings box. Okay, so let's do this also. Let's just say crosses. All right. Oh, for the love of Pete, what's going on here? Create alert. Oh, it's not letting me do it on a monthly. All right. I got you. I got you. All right. So let's go to the weeklies. Let's look at 5 years. And we can see that the traders, this 844, great line. It shows up on the weekly chart as well as that monthly one. So that's nice. The granularity here, this doesn't look bad, actually, holding this zone. So whether or not the tariff comes in, it feels like the tariff weights have been partially offset already, right? It came off of its, what, 10%. It pulled back almost 20% off of the high. That's a pretty sizable pullback.
Yeah, it
right?
is.
For something that's institutionally owned, that's monstrous. And so my supposition is that we go sideways to up. And so if you're looking at that, then there are two ways you can trade this. And now, of course, it's going to depend on how long do you want to hold this for, right? If they come back and they say, hey, we're going to have X, Y, or Z, they could pull it all the way to 800. But if it goes there, it is going to be a screaming buy. I
Okay.
mean, a screaming buy. So it's just got so much institutional weight sitting on it that the break back up above that 890 area really held this chart very, very well. So I think, dips or buys. Couple
Okay.
ways to trade that. If you're saying to yourself, hey, let's go to March, and we say, you could go to Fed, but March will give you more premium. You could say, whoa, there's nobody sitting there. All right. No bueno. All right. How about Fed? Chains are super quiet there. All right. So, nope. They don't even think 900 is the number that they think the most that this thing is going to fall to. Let's take a look at the 26, 22. That's $48, $49. So almost $50. 9. So that's how they're positioned. 900 to 890 and then back to 1,000. That's what they are. That's what they've priced into the market, which I think is very interesting. It gives us 350 for credit. Now, here's the next thing. If you're thinking to yourself, wait a second, this is going to move back up, use that February formation and then give the chart some time. Notice how long. Here's the last earnings event, right? It gapped down, gapped up, came back down, and then moved back up. So it took 4 weeks for the chart to turn around and recapture the last earnings candle. 4 weeks. And so that's pretty important if you're thinking about the time element. My thought would be, hey, go to March, and then if you're saying, let's see if it can go 990 to 1,000 to 110, it's 45 cents. So super cheap. You really want to cut it off as soon as it gets to 1,000. And that might be if it just blows the doors off earnings, because more people are going there to buy in bulk because of X, Y, or Z.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I did my weekly pilgrimage there this week, so I did my part. Anne-Marie, this is a really good breakdown here. Just really quick on cost. We're having a discussion here, and maybe you haven't thought about this, but I'm just thinking if you have an opinion on this. One of the things that 13 and I have been discussing here is that, yeah, we're waiting for this tariff decision. We can't control it. But the thing is that they might say that the tariffs are in fact illegal, but you don't actually have to repay what happened before. It's just going forward.
Yes.
And so I don't think we really know what's going on or what's going to happen here, but obviously that's going to impact how this thing trades.
Yeah. So the forward thought of that is, if you deem something illegal, how can you not claw back?
Exactly. And that's the other side of the argument.
Yeah. I mean,
so
yeah.
We'll have to wait and see on this one. This is interesting times, no doubt. Costco at the center of it, but that should be good for us to trade.
Yeah,
okay.
For sure.
Last one I've got for you here is app. And this one,
yeah.
Now you know from the options and from the movement about app, but what you may not know is app has a history with our group. When a number of months ago, back in I believe it was in 2025, we had a short report come out. In fact, Lion is mentioning some of the stats here. We had a short report. The stock dipped to 238, and I told Ryan I'm going long, and it's ripped nonstop up to 745. Well, guess what? This morning, we got another short report here today. Shares are trading lower as traders circulate a report from Capital Watch titled "The Southeast Asian Money Laundering Syndicate's NASDAQ Laundromat." Boy, the hype. I know. So harsh. So we have another short report here today. Now, app is down 1.1% here today. If you look intraday, it was down a whole lot earlier, but that was probably because of the whole Greenland stuff that really sunk all of the futures here. So the reason I'm bringing this up here at 563, we have earnings in a couple of weeks here. The earnings are going to be on February 11th. But the last time we saw something exactly like this, it was a screaming buy, to borrow your terms. What do the options tell you about app today?
Wow, that's interesting. All right, so let's take a look at near term. Yeah, very quiet chains. Very quiet chains. Wait, did I just do that? Oh, knucklehead. Okay, let's go. Let's see if they're piling up right now. See if anything's moved in. 3,000 at the 500 mark. That's interesting. On the put side. So that's where the most, there's 7,000 at 530, almost 9,000 at 500. Yeah, there's just put side stuff going on here. 600. That's where they're sitting. So in the near term, there's some bearish bets getting made. And so if people get into, are you thinking this is you think this will turn into a short squeeze if people move to the other?
Yes, judging by what I saw last time, I mean, I'll be honest with you, like I don't love app loving as a bit. I don't understand it fully. It's not my wheelhouse. But judging what we saw last time, this was one of the trades that we talked about live that produced the most gains for the group because the movement was so ridiculous. And it basically initially got slammed by the report and almost right away got bought back and then went much, much higher. And so
Okay.
I just wonder the same thing here. Are we setting up for some of the same? And I don't necessarily need you to comment on the report itself. Those things, they're all well researched. They reach their own conclusions. I'm just saying, what does the chart and options look like for you?
So the options are thin, but
Okay.
there's some pretty heavy put positioning in the near term. Very heavy, about maybe almost 20,000 sitting right 20,000 options sitting right here in these tight ones, right? We've got 9,000 here at the 500 mark. We've got 7,500 here at the 530 mark, and that's it. Nothing really in the call side that's dramatic. Nothing shocking in terms of near term. So if we move out to the 30th, yeah, they're just betting near term for something that's reflexive. Now, here's the thing. If this chart ends up shooting the moon like the last one, like the last time, let's do a measured move on it. The first measured move event should quotations get back to the 700 spot. So if you're staring that down and you want to give it some time and you don't want to put a lot at risk, here's somebody's put on a spread. That seems clear. 700 to 720 to 740 on the butterfly. It's $1.50.
Okay.
If it moves there by March. Now, I suspect that that's a little fast.
Now here's
that.
the thing, that March expiry will also encompass its next earnings report. So if the
Yes.
earnings disprove the short report, to your earlier question about the short fuel being added onto it, I don't know if that's unattainable by March.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's fair. It certainly takes it to the top
And
of
by the way,
box.
Emery, since you set that up, I've seen that price jostling between 135 and 160. So this might be another case of where you can kind of throw that bid in maybe a little bit
Yes, little
lower
stink bid,
and get a
yeah.
really good fill on it.
Yeah, that might be, that's actually pretty good. Yeah, that's super interesting. Could you
Okay.
send me that link in Slack to the short report?
Absolutely, I can.
Thank you. That's great.
Well, you know what? Before I promise something that I can't deliver, let me make sure
All right.
Pro has it, because that's where I would have got it from, frankly.
Okay. All right. I think we might have time for one more. And so while you're looking for that, I want to talk about Celsius Holdings.
Perfect. There was someone just mentioned, that's perfect. Someone just mentioned that earlier today.
So, my thought, when the market looks like a dumpster fire in terms of saying, okay, let's take a look at what's going on, and it's a sea of red in general, right? My first thought is, well, what's not red and why? And so we're looking at a chart that appears to be in a fair recovery space, at least until maybe it's probably got a $10 run on it, which is 20% to the upside. The one fly in the ointment is earnings, right? And so take a look. See last earnings. Look at how long it's taken to get up here.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one earning space. Now, if we gap down and we spend some time here and we create a floor at the bottom of the last earnings price, that becomes a particular buy zone. The top then becomes the target. So my suspicion is that that's where they're going to run into. Now, we have until February the 19th. This might be an interesting little trade where you could look at, do you want to use February 20th? Let's see how expensive that is. If we go 60, you can see their positioning there. If you go 60 to 65, get better pricing here rather than 64 because nobody's trading there. It's $1.25. You get, 3x if it actually goes into that zone. If you want to turn it into a butterfly and be even cheaper, can't do that there. Let's see if how expensive this one would be. 60, 65. That's $1. That's $1.08. I don't like that one. I
Okay.
think the basic 60-65 call spread could really do well. And what you could do is follow along here and maybe collect a little bit of premium where these guys have been sitting. But let me double check on that. Yeah, no, that's what I would say. If you want to chase it into that, that's fair, because what it does is just track through the ordinary space, right? Sort of like this guy. Remember, our earnings week candle becomes so important. Once it breaks out above that high, you've got yourself upside pressure. If it tests the low, holds it, and starts moving into the body, it's also an area to buy. And so we can see that. So my suspicion is the next run up here into this space, easily the 60-65 area. That feels like a nice space. And if you want to give yourself just a little bit of time, instead of Feb, you can use March, right? And it'll be, whoa, it's more expensive. Okay, that's good. So I would say keep the Feb, because they are certainly pricing in higher prices towards the end of that month. And so, yeah, put in a little quiet bid in there and see if it gets you.
Okay. Anne-Marie, action packed here again. I did go ahead and give you the link there. That's in your Slack.
Appreciate
and by
it.
the way, chat, I threw that in the chat here as well. So if you're interested in that, take a look. Anne-Marie, really great stuff as per usual. Thank you. We'll see you on Friday.
Yes. Have a good week.
All right. Take care. That is Anne-Marie Baiynd, folks. Be sure, by the way, to check out Benzinga Pro. She gives trades and market recaps all of the time within Pro. And also, one more thing to remind you here. We were talking a lot about some of the metals. So we actually have a live training session here on how to trade a silver surge in a volatile market. Silver just delivered one of its strongest moves in years as volatility swept through the macro-driven markets. Matt Maley is going to break down how he actively trims his silver call positions, managed risk along the way, and stayed positioned for further upside. See how he approaches fast-moving trades that can reverse without warning. Matt is in fuego. That should be an awesome webinar. It's free. You can go ahead and sign up for it. It's QR code right there on the screen. All right, folks, that's it here for today. Truncated week. Day one is down, but we'll be back here again tomorrow. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. Have a great rest.